5 minutes. You can bring up anything that we didn't cover, your closing statement, whatever that is, but you've got 5 minutes for that. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, so that's the order part, and then to just kind of, I don't think we're going to have any trouble at all, but I mean, just to be sure, what we're asking is that you, while another candidate is answering, that you don't interrupt, don't try to talk while the other candidate's talking. If during one of your answers, you do bring up another candidate, and then if I say, Ben is so sorry he wouldn't even be into work until noon if he was in office, then once that answer Good evening and welcome to the Independent Herald Candidate Forum here tonight. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank the candidates that have chosen to join us tonight. We are hoping to give you an evening to meet those that are running for both City Mayor for Oneida and for Town of Oneida Alderman. Those that have agreed to come here tonight, we just appreciate their participation in this tonight. And we are trying to make sure we keep everything level and even for everyone. So there's just a few rules I'm going to go over so that you'll know the rules that the candidates are going to be under here tonight. We've already drawn for position. It's going to be the mayoral candidates that start off here first. We'll begin with Mr. Bruce Mays, and then it will be Lori Phillips Jones, and then it will be Mr. Harold Brooks. And to begin things off, they're going to introduce themselves and let you know why they've chosen to run for the office of Oneida City Mayor. And then later on we'll do the same thing with the alderman. Each round will have a question and a timer for each of the candidates, and they will give their answers as best they can. And then at the end of the questioning tonight, the questions that I have, they'll have 5 minutes to share any information that they feel like I didn't bring out that maybe I should have, that they want you to know about them, and then kind of just a closing argument of their position on why they feel they're the best candidate for the job. It's not an easy thing to do, to be on screen like this, and it's the first time we've ever done it. And so I want to just very much thank our candidates for showing up to agree to do this tonight. And hopefully tonight you'll become more informed and you'll learn more about these folks that are really sacrificing a lot of their personal identity and just putting themselves out there to try to help lead our community. And so I think we all can be on board to thank them for that. So tonight we're going to start off with just the candidate opening statement, and you can tell us a little bit about who you are, why you're running, and we'll give you just some time to do that. We'll begin with candidate Bruce Mays.
Good evening, and thank you for taking your time out to be with us this evening. Thank everybody that is behind the scenes responsible for this. Certainly thank Tim Smith for moderating this. I believe this is the first ever Town of Oneida debate that we've had. My name is Bruce Mays. I'm a mayoral candidate for the Town of Oneida. 43 years old. I've worked for the Town of Oneida for 23 years, over half my life. I know the ins and outs. I know every aspect the town has to offer. My knowledge of the town measures up. I believe if you want to serve for the town, you got to have a servant's heart. That's what I've had. I've worked with the people over many years. My fellow employees, the residents, I've helped in any way that I could possibly. And I'm hoping the next hour and a half that the people will realize, get an insight into me, my philosophies, what I plan to do to lead the town going forward. I want to thank everyone here, thank everyone viewing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. And we will continue on with our candidate introductions. Our next candidate is Miss Lori Phillips Jones.
Hello. I want to reiterate what Bruce said and thank everybody for being here and allowing the citizens to see us in a public forum. I've had several meet and greets where I've tried to get out there and put things forth that I stand for and I represent, but I appreciate any opportunity to get in front of constituents and tell more about myself. I'm a lifelong resident of Scott County. Was raised here, went to school here, graduated from Oneida High School, and both my children did as well. My past work experience uniquely qualifies me to be the mayor. I previously served as the district attorney general and also prosecuted in state and federal court for about 14 years. Since Bruce told his age, I guess I feel obligated to tell mine. I'm 49, which I'm not happy about, but it is what it is, right? In my role as a district attorney, I supervised 5 counties along with a drug task force. I managed budgets and employees. I feel like my experience uniquely qualifies me for the position of mayor. In my time in Oneida, I've served on many nonprofit boards, including STAND, the Women's Shelter, Alqui. I'm also very active in my church. Being on those boards has given me a great insight into grant opportunities and many contacts with people in Nashville. had some great experiences working as the DA and being the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the 8th Judicial District. I am the only female on the ballot this November, so I would encourage others in the future to run for office. I think it's important that we have a diverse board of different citizens bringing forth the ideas of the citizens. And my time is almost up, so I'll stop. It's a good idea to give an attorney a time limit because that could be dangerous if you don't.
All right, thank you, Lori. And then our third candidate for Mayor of Town of Oneida is Mr. Harold Brooks. Mr. Brooks.
I'm Harold Brooks. I was born and raised in Scott County. I've lived away for a few years. My work took me away, and I'm married to Betty Brooks, Hope Brooks, have 2 daughters and some grandkids, great-grandkids mainly. But I feel like I am qualified to run Oneida. From the office out, all the work has been done over the years. I have done that in my work as a utility contractor for years, several years. I've worked hundreds of people, and I feel like I am qualified to run the town. And I know I've done everything except pick up garbage and work on a garbage truck. And I just feel like with all my experience that I have, I could move the town forward. There's some things that I think needs to be done, and I would work hard to try to satisfy the people. I'll be a servant to the people and not just a figurehead, and it's not why I'm running. I feel like I can help people in the things that they want to have done, and I just feel like I can do a good job at it, and if people will elect me, why, I'll always be there to take care of them, and that's about it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. So next we're going to move on to the questions that I have brought, and in our first round we will start with Lori Phillips Jones. She drew number 2, so we'll start with the number 2 candidate here, and in this round it will be 3 minutes on the clock for each answer. And the first question I have, and each person will answer the same question, just to be clear. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but we're all new at this. We'll
get it.
Settle in and get it going, but everyone's going to answer this first question, but Lori's going to answer it first. So Lori, the first question I want to ask you, as Oneida Mayor, it's been 30 years since anybody's been Oneida Mayor, besides Mayor Lay. So I would ask you, in going into office, are there any changes that you see that need to be made, or are you going to stay the course, or is it a mix of both?
Okay. Thank you for that question. And I think it's an exciting time for the town of Oneida. The 3 things that I have consistently emphasized in my campaign are recreation, beautification, and economic innovation. So recreation means we want to increase recreation activities for our citizens. I have some ideas that we can do with the Oneida City Park and expand things available to citizens. We need to get Bear Creek open and flourishing with tournaments and people up there. We need to get a place that AYSO soccer can play again. Under beautification comes trash pickup, paving, all of our normal operational duties. And then under economic innovation, we've had a boom of small business owners, which I think is fabulous. It's great for our citizens, it's great for those business owners. But I want to focus on helping those business owners who are new by partnering them with existing business owners and start a mentorship program. One of the things that I've heard in talking to a lot of people in the campaign is business owners pay taxes in the city, but they don't necessarily get to vote or they have a voice. So I want to create that voice for those business owners. I would like to see a board of citizens that help guide the mayor and the alderman in decisions that are made affecting the city. I'd also like to revitalize the Oneida ID Board and the Recreational Board. Both of those things are important to our town. So I guess a very simple answer to your question is what we have is very good, and I'm interested in making it better. And honing in the great things that we offer to our citizens. I have talked to almost every single employee at the town of Oneida, and I've told them that my intent is not to upset the apple cart. I feel that if you came in and sent everybody home, that would terribly disrupt services to citizens, and that's not my intent. My intent is, if I'm blessed to be mayor, to come in, evaluate what we've got, how we can make it better, and improve upon the services that we offer to our citizens.
Okay. All right, thank you. And now, Candidate Brooks, I'll ask you the same question. It's been a while since there's been a new mayor in town, and so as you look to run for mayor, are there any changes that you think need to be made in the town of Oneida? And is there anything that needs to stay the course that's going well? What are your thoughts on those two things?
I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed. I don't believe in going in and, in my experience, in running company and running my own companies, you don't go in and make changes right off. I can't see that it's working now, and why try to fix something if it's operating all right. There's some things I know that needs to be looked at. I don't know how the golf course and how the sports complex, I don't know how they're operating, but I will try to get them to at least pay for themselves, make changes to where I can, because everything needs to try to create a dollar if they can. And with my experience, I have talked to people. There's some things that needs to be addressed, especially the people says people drive too fast in about every part of our town in Oneida. And I'd say most of them are outside the city limits, and we need to address that. That needs to be looked at. If we have to hire more policemen, I think we need to do it. I'll work hard to run the town like a business as much as I can. I've had all the experience outside, and there comes a time that you need to change things. You don't keep throwing good money after bad. When you're overhauling the engines 2 or 3 times in vehicles, you need to get rid of them, go to the state, and they have good vehicles there that we can buy instead of continue working on these wore out machines and sell them at some kind of auction. And any way that the people, there's one instance, there's a guardrail down at on 297 that needs to be put up. There've been 4 wrecks or 5 wrecks, 2 people told me in the last 6 months. Well, that's far too much, and if I'm elected, that guardrail will be put up. Either the state will, because I won't give up, I won't quit on something like that. It needs to be done. Don't wait till something happens. If a kid gets run over or something, killed, that's unacceptable. So I will make it happen one way or the other, and it needs to be done whether I get in office or whoever gets in office. That needs to be put up. It needs to be taken care of.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And now our third candidate will answer this first question. That's Mr. Bruce Mays. And Bruce, I'll re-ask it. So as you become mayor, if you become mayor, what would you see as the changes that are needed, and what things do we need to stay the course for Oneida?
A lot of people ask the question over meetings and everything else that, what do you plan on doing? What does each candidate plan on doing? Each candidate's got their own set of things that they'd like to do. Mine is, start off with infrastructure. I've had the privilege of working for the town for 23 years, the privilege of working under Mayor Lay for 23 years. I've been through the good, I've been through the bad. The golf course is one thing. We bought it years ago. It was in rough shape. It was dilapidated. The employees went in, redone it, got it back up to where it is. It is feasible now, or close to it. Continue improving it, making it look better, getting more people to play. Because if you want people to come in here, you got to have that aspect. You got to have things for people to do. You want commerce in here, you got to have good roads. You got to have a pretty town. You got to have people that are communicative. With Bear Creek, I started on that over 20 years ago. Bear Creek was implemented and built for the kids of not only Oneida, Scott County. It is there to benefit everybody. And to reiterate, I mean, a lot of people from AYSO, Storm Football, baseball, softball have reached out. We got over almost a $500,000 playground equipment up there. Needs to be open to the public. You don't need to spend $5 million on a project and people not be allowed to use it. We can improve it. I've been on the travel circuit for many years with my son. My daughter does competitive. We can bring in tournaments maybe at least once a month. Those tournaments, I've talked to other directors, they bring in $15,000 to $50,000 in a weekend. That's money that the town does not have to spend. That can control itself and the taxpayers be without nothing. Roads and sidewalks, that's a big thing. People want paving. You don't only start with paving. You got to fix the drainage, the ditches, the culverts, the whole 9 yards. Then after you're done with that, you got to keep water runoff to protect that road. And that's where a street sweeper or a street cleaner would come in. Sidewalks, a lot of people ask about sidewalks. I'd like to tie 27 in with the east side of 27, the housing projects, and with downtown Main Street. Tie all that together. That not only ties you in with the schools, ties you in with Senior Citizen Center, businesses, and give people the chance to exercise. It opens up the whole center of town. And there's many more things. Sorry, my time is running out.
That's okay, Bruce. We'll have more opportunity, and you'll have plenty of flex time to go too. So,
Who came up with 3 minutes?
I know, it's short. It's short when you start talking.
The next question, Mr. Brooks will start. Harold Brooks will start this next question, and this question is about the relationship of the mayor and the alderman. Both the mayor and the alderman are going to be elected in this election, and there'll be some new aldermen because some aren't returning to run this time. So my question to you is, as mayor, how do you see that relationship to the alderman, and what is your leadership style, and are there any, just offering the opportunity, do you have aldermen that you are endorsing or that you prefer in this race, and what is it going to take to work together for the town of Oneida with the alderman as the mayor?
I believe in working with people. I'm a problem solver, and I believe in getting things solved in the right manner. I would work with an alderman in any way I could, because you have to work together. That's one thing about it. If you don't, you're creating problems. And I would really like to bring up some things that needs to be done, other than the speeding and the guardrail. It's needs to be put up. Like they said, paving needs to be done. You need to ditch those roads and things. And the alderman can help me. We need work sessions, I think, from time to time. I don't know if they have them now or not, but they need work sessions so we can work things out and talk about things, and not just go in once a month and try to solve problems. And I just feel like that I can work with them, and I don't believe in trying to force things on them. It's my job to bring it to their attention, and whatever that we can work out on whatever they want to do. If it's downtown, or if it's out in some of these other streets and areas, I think we need to I think they used to pick up garbage that's thrown out in the road and things like that. I think that needs to be, I think they used to pick it up, and the workers, and we need to try to do that as much as we can, you know, and just whatever we need to do to work together. I won't just say, here, this is the way it is. I believe in working with the people and the aldermen and let them make the decisions, you know, on what we need to do. And I just feel like I could do a good job with them because I'm easygoing, like I say, and I'll work out. I'm a problem solver and not trying to create problems.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. And we'll move on to Bruce Mays with this question. And Bruce, again, the question is just working with aldermen, the relationship to aldermen as the mayor, as a leader. What is your leadership style? How would you communicate? Because, you know, 5 people aren't going to agree on everything all the time. So how would you approach the relationship of mayor and aldermen in the town of Oneida?
Thank you, Tim. The mayor and aldermen need to come together. The mayor obviously runs the day-to-day operations of the town. That's a lot to do with employees, cases that need to be done, items that need to be taken care of. And with the aldermen come in with, people may come to them with questions that they may not come to the mayor. They have a group of people that feel more comfortable talking to them. And so they can bring it up to the mayor and they can get together and then hash things out to get problems fixed, problems done. It may be something simple for drainage. Say take like a cupboard that's stopped up. They may bring it up to them to get it fixed and then we can work it out. Other aspects that come in with that mayor and alderman are the employees that work there. One thing you want to do, especially with employees that work there, because the public sees the employees more than anybody. I've been there, they ask us questions. What I would like from the mayor and the alderman is treat the employees the best you can. Give the employees the best that you have to offer. Whether it's insurance, retirement, pay if you can, work on that. We got parks and recreations. I've heard different ideas from everybody. And there's times I'm not going to be right. I realize that, but I would like to, if that they come to me, hey Bruce, this is the way I see it. This is the way it needs to, that I think would benefit the town better. Hey, convince me. I'm fine with that, or vice versa. That's what alderman and mayor needs to do. It don't need to be a debacle the whole time. You can't go and board and fight amongst each other the whole time. You get nothing done. It accomplishes nothing. It not only hurts the employees, it hurts the public, it hurts the services. You want to have a good working relationship, a trusting relationship, something that you can work together, build on, move forward, grow Oneida in the possibilities that you can, and accomplish all the goals that you have set forward.
All right. And finally, Ms. Lori Phillips Jones, I'll ask you the same question, and it is, what would your leadership style as mayor be? How would you build consensus? What's the relationship between mayor and alderman to ensure that things get done for the town of Oneida?
Well, Tim, as you know, I've served as an alderman now for about 6 years. And I like to be busy at a job. And I feel like in the past that I've been underutilized as an alderman. If I was blessed to be the mayor, I would have a very different take on how to use the aldermen, because they are running for this office because they love Oneida and they want to have a voice in what happens. Some things I would do differently. I would start budget discussions early in the year. The town has to have a budget prepared by May to be able to vote on that budget twice and turn it into the state by July 1. And I feel like work sessions, when we can really delve into that budget would be essential to working together. And I'm like Bruce, if somebody disagrees with me, I appreciate that, because I want to understand their viewpoint, and I want us to have an open dialogue about what's best for the town and not what's best for anybody personally. I think we have a great slate of candidates running for alderman. I'm looking for people that are dependable, smart, and ready to go to work. Because if I was your mayor, I would put them to work. They are your voice of the community, of the things that need to be done and the things that we need to look at a little bit closer. Right now, one of the issues we need to look at in our budget is, and I know the county's looking at this as well, is pay for police officers. Our starting police officers, the starting pay is $14 an hour. So across our county, it's really hard to recruit good people in those positions for that pay. As your mayor, I would want to delve into that budget and to see what we could do about that, because our law enforcement is our safety protectors of our community, and that's an important asset that the mayor provides to the community and heads up that department. I've always had a good working relationship with law enforcement. I've done it in the past, and your mayor is over the chief of police and helps to dictate what kind of policing you're going to have. So I think it's important that those people, along with our city employees, are also paid a fair wage. Inflation is going up, and so things are more expensive, and so I would use those aldermen, their expertise. We've got a lot of good expertise on the slate, and I would use them and use their knowledge and their backgrounds and really do a good job and look at what we can do better for the town.
Thank you, Lori. And that's the end of our second round of questions. So third round of questions, and after the third round of questions, we'll take a quick break to give the candidates just a moment and then come back and continue on with our questions. But this third round begins with Mr. Bruce Mays. And Bruce, I'll ask you, you've each mentioned this, but I'm going to ask everyone to get more specific with recreation and opportunities for people of the town of Oneida, not limited to, but including your vision for the city park, for the Bear Creek complex, which each of you has mentioned, and for the golf course and any other types of recreational activities that you feel like need to be implemented or supported in the town of Oneida.
Tim, we'll start with the Bear Creek youth program. When we first started out, we had over 400 to 500 kids participate in that program. Now the numbers have dropped off drastically. Through building up the programs, asking the AYSO, Storm, Little League, whatever, good communication with them. They want to come in and be wanted. They want to learn to play. They want to grow their kids in the aspect of any sport that they have or want to acquire. We can build on that. Like I said, we can bring in at least maybe, I won't go over maybe one or two recreation travel tournaments a month. You're on a perfect location. You're on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. We can draw in Knoxville, probably Lexington, Richmond, Crossville, teams from that area. And some of them teams, you get anywhere from $400 per team up to participate in it. So if you can get 40 teams in that, that's $16,000 plus your concessions and everything else, which benefits the businesses of Scott County. That would be one thing I'd like to do there. Continue to grow HIT. Oneida City Park, beautiful park. Everybody that comes in absolutely brags on that. To me, you don't want to put too much into that putting over there because you take away the natural beauty of the park. A few things that you can do. People have asked about a dog park. We can do that, kind of keep it from the park entrance maybe. That way that kind of keeps that separately and you still get your walking trails, everything like that. The basketball court and tennis court, we can be redone. A couple things I'd like to add is pickleball courts. Pickleball has become very, very popular. That is something that we can do that is very cheap, very economical. Another thing, frisbee golf. I looked into it. We can put portable frisbee golf over there. I think maybe 12 sets is maybe around $5,000 to $6,000. You can move them, transport them if you have to, and does not take away the beauty of the park. The golf course, like I said, it's a beautiful park. It's one of the best 9-hole golf courses you'll be around. We could add a few things down there as far as beautifying it, making it more appealing. But right now you have the youth that is really came on with the golf course. Over several years that we've had it, we've made it better, made it more playable. The golfers enjoy it, bigger turnout, less expense for the taxpayers now. It all goes on to that. So that's what some of the aspects I'd like to do with it.
All right, thank you, Bruce. And we'll move to Kenneth Lori Phillips-Jones. And Lori, the question again deals with recreation, which is one of your pillars that you mentioned earlier today. So including the city park, the golf course, Bear Creek Sports Complex, what's your vision for recreation in Oneida?
Sure. I think the golf course, I'm going to start with that because it's a great asset that we have. And we're blessed to have it. I have no intentions of shutting down the golf course. There was a rumor that I was doing that, and that is 100% inaccurate. I think it's great for if we are recruiting businesses. You know how much business takes place on the golf course. It's a beautiful facility. We've got golf teams at the high schools now using it. I think it would be great if we could expand it, but land is going to be an issue with that. So the golf course is a great opportunity. So far as the Bear Creek recreational facility, I'd like to see it used more. We have seen through the Boys and Girls Club basketball how many participants they have with that. So I would like to work with that recreation board that I talked about recreating to work on our youth baseball and softball leagues. You know, when I was about probably 10 years old, I played on a softball league, and Melissa Fancher was my coach. I was probably the worst player ever, but it was a great experience for me as a young lady getting involved in sports. So I'm all about expanding any opportunities we have for our young people to get them outside and involved. I think we live in such a social media and electronics world. It's good to get a break from that. Bruce mentioned the dog park. That was one of my ideas from the beginning because other larger cities have dog parks. And the number of people that have dogs, when I go to campaign, about every household has animals. I think part of that's a result from COVID. But to have a place where you can take your dogs and it's safe, I think would lend to recreation and people being able to get out and have a sense of community together. I'd also like to see the park utilized for more festivals. One of my ideas is to have summer movie nights at the park, let the food trucks come in, let families come out and see some classic movies out there. A lot of communities do that, and it's a great opportunity for people to fellowship. I think that went to the Heritage Festival, 2 weekends ago, and the number of people that were there was amazing. It was a great put on festival, and you can tell that people just wanted to get out and be with their neighbors now that we finally can, right? Frisbee golf is great. I got a call this week about a possibility for some pickleball opportunities. I think that's a great sport for a lot more people to learn, and even utilize the gym in the winter months down at the park for indoor pickleball. The other thing, I'm about to run out of time. The other thing is I like to expand upon Christmas at the park because I love that so much, and I would love to see us do more craft vendor fairs and things like that inside the gym at the Oneida City Park. Also more walking clubs, 5Ks to benefit nonprofits, and I didn't get to talk about the arts, but I will later. Okay, thanks.
You can include that in the
It was
final
short.
part.
You
There we
said
go.
it was short.
All right.
You said it was short. It was short. 3 minutes. is not that
Okay.
long.
Mr. Harold Brooks, you haven't answered this question yet. So the question is about recreation. And I know you've talked some about some of these things, but including the Oneida City Park, the golf course, Bear Creek Fields, any ideas on recreation for the city of Oneida as the mayor?
Well, I was just thinking about tennis. You know, a lot of people would probably use a tennis court if we had maybe got a couple of them that's fixed right, and build maybe a fence around them where you could kind of control everything. But it's there's so many things that you can think about. I've always thought about these, and they've got one in Lexington, Kentucky, near the interstate. I used to look at these kids use it. I don't know what it's called. They put roller blades on and go up and down these things.
Skate park.
I know it's kind of people. You'd have to watch what the kids that were there to use those. I think that would be a fun thing for the younger kids, but the tennis would be a good thing for all people, and it's got to be fixed up right, or you're wasting your time if you don't have a nice facility. And over at the city park, I've had more complaints about they like to walk over there. But the geese, you know that story. But I don't know what we could do about them. But anyway, something needs to be done to where we can use that walking track more. And I don't know, there's right offhand what until I was in a position to look at other cities and see what they use for different areas. I know some towns have I don't know how that lake is over there at City Park, but you could really create some different things there with that lake. I've seen that on my travel. On things, you can different sports, but anyway, they're just things that I'd like to get someone involved that to help bring those things in and create different things for these for different ages. Don't just leave one person out. And I think that golf course or the tennis, the right good course would bring in older people. They have something to do too. So that's about all I have to say about that.
All right, Mr. Brooks, thank you. We're going to take about 2-3 minute break for our candidates to just get a drink of water and take a rest for a minute, refocus, and when we return, we'll have some more issues. This is the Independent Herald Candidate Forum for the mayor for the town of Oneida. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Independent Herald Candidate Forum for the town of Oneida. We have our 3 mayoral candidates that have joined us this evening. We've been through a first round of questions, and we're going to continue on. Each candidate gets to answer the questions, and they've drawn for order. If you just joined us, they have drawn for order, and so we're allowing each of them to give their answers for each of the questions. And we are to Ms. Lori Phillips Jones to start this round. So, Ms. Jones, this second round of questions starts off with a question about healthcare, emergency services, fire, and provision of those things. How do you feel the state of healthcare and emergency services are in the town of Oneida, and what things do you think need to be improved, and what things are going well?
That's a very good question, Tim. And obviously, living in Oneida, quality of life is important for our residents. I think we're extremely blessed that our hospital is still open, and I want to commend everybody that had a part in keeping that open for our citizens. I live right behind the helipad, so I know that it's being utilized because every time I hear the helicopter, it hurts my heart because I know somebody's in a condition that they need some care. So I think we're blessed to have the hospital there. I got the opportunity to tour the Mayoral Recovery Unit, which is a drug rehab facility established in the hospital, which I think is amazing that we have that. It's much needed in our community because we do, no matter what, we still do have a drug problem here. And I know a lot of individuals are working very hard to help combat that. The facility is great. It uses a lot of the place in the hospital that was underutilized before. One thing that I would like to see, and I know I call them a big pie in the sky idea because it would take a lot to get this here, but in campaigning and talking to folks, there is a great need for transitional assisted care living in our community, and I feel like that's not being met currently. That would be something as a mayor I would want to work on. Like I say, it would be a big undertaking. But I think with the right players in place that we could look at that and make it a viable solution. Because right now we have the hospital, we have a very good nursing home, but we don't have anything as transitional living for folks that are still pretty independent but don't want to do yard work and don't want to be alone at night. Maybe they're at a fall risk or something like that. The other entity that I want to talk about is Mountain Peoples. Holy cow, Mountain Peoples is amazing, and the amount of health services they have brought to our community through their dental clinics for adults, the grant money that they bring into our community is amazing. Their buildings were made possible through the Oneida ID Board. That was land that was owned by the Oneida ID Board, and they worked with Mountain Peoples to get that in place, and we're just blessed to have them. Other things that I think could help healthcare in our community are more opportunities for wellness, whether it be walking clubs at the Boys and Girls Club during the winter months or walking clubs in the summer. I think sidewalks and crosswalks are important to that, especially to our older citizens that want to be able to travel safely within our town.
All right, thank you, candidate Phillips Jones. And now I'll turn to Mr. Harold Brooks. Mr. Brooks, again, the question is about health care in Oneida and also emergency services, fire, police. What do you see as things that are going well and things that maybe could use improvement, ideas about general services for the town of Oneida and the people of Oneida as the mayor?
I've thought about this quite a bit on the hospital. If the hospital can't operate as a hospital like they should, I would like to see maybe a top-notch gosh, can't even think of what I'm wanting to say now. But anyway, where we could emergency, more of emergency room where we could take care of, set it up where we could do anything that some of these other hospitals do, and concentrate on that rather than trying to, be a hospital that provides everything with. And I think that, you know, if we could do that, it would help people. I know I had one of my family members, he's an older guy, and he spent 2 or 3 days up there, and he said, Harold, they got me back home, but he said, you know, I need more care than what they gave him, and he couldn't, they didn't transfer him to Knoxville or anything, and if they'd had a first class, I think, emergency department, they could have done a lot more for him, and they could do others the same way, you know, but that's something that I've always thought that we might do here if you can't have, you know, a hospital that'll take care of all your needs, you know. And I know that's a problem across the country everywhere. I forget how many hospitals have been closed this last year, and it was unreal, you know, that, but that's just the way the times are now, you know. But that's about all I can say about that, you know.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And we'll turn now to Mr. Bruce Mays. And Bruce, the question again surrounds health care in the county, or in the city, health care in Oneida City, and then also emergency services with fire and police, and your thoughts on the things that are going well and anything that needs to improve in emergency services within the town of Oneida.
I think one of the biggest questions that we get asked, or I've got asked on the campaign trail, of course, is about the hospital. They want stability and good doctors, nurses, all the way down the line to be there in their time of need. I think we have got a big step in that direction as far as doctors, nurses. As me, I've utilized the hospital several times. Unfortunately, the care is good. What I would like to see, and I think this is across a lot of, especially your voters' minds right now, is the age of the hospital. And what I'd like to see is Oneida and the county has worked together on many projects before, whether it be the Boys and Girls Club or other projects. Maybe meet with the mayor, alderman, commissioners, mountain peoples, the doctors, and maybe looking at going in together and possibly building a better hospital, a better center. Not a big one like what we got, but something other that will accommodate Scott County. Something other that will have the beds needed, the emergency room that is needed, and other areas that maybe we can recruit doctors to come in here maybe once or twice a week to give the people of Oneida and the county the treatment that they need and still having to travel outside the county. I think that's a reachable goal. I know, like you mentioned, Mountain People's a great source. They get a lot of grants because we are a low-income county. There's a lot of grants out there, and that could be a possibility. The police aspect of it right now, you got a lot of officers transferring out to, of course, better paying jobs. I'm always for any individual that wants to better themselves, but even in the police, fire, EMT aspect of it, we got to find a better way to keep them here, whether it be pay, benefits, hours worked, equipment. Like I said, I've partaken in some of these aspects of it with the sheriff's departments years ago. There's always a need. There's always a need for officers, always a need for EMT. Hopefully we can get our young people on board, recruit them in, train them, and hopefully eventually get the pay and the benefits sustainable that we can compare to other counties around us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mays. And that concludes the question around healthcare and emergency services. And we'll move on to the next question, and it will be Mr. Brooks' turn to answer this question first. So, Mr. Harold Brooks, I'll ask you, what are some areas that Oneida needs to grow in. And examples I'll give is it retail, industry? What are some of the things that you see Oneida needs growth, and how would you bring that about as mayor?
Well, people has asked me, can we get another grocery type store here? And that's something that I'd like to try to get. I don't know. We need, I think, more. We could use another good fuel center that will, like a Weigel's or something like that. That semis can pull in and fuel up and things like that. So I think that would be good. And I don't know, they've talked about a bypass for several years, and I've seen drawings on it in 3 or 4 ways. I don't know if how much that would help Oneida, but I feel like someday the state will step in and build one anyway, whether the town wants it or not. And it would open up, build good arteries off from a bypass to come straight into all these stores and shops here. And I think that would open it up a lot, because it'd be more business or business type things that would get in that area. But there's several things that I think we could do as far as getting different type stores other than just those type stores. And but that's one of my biggest things that people ask me. Let's get us another good grocery store here where we don't have to go to Walmart all the time. And I don't know, I would be after those things, whatever the people wanted me to try to bring in, I would do my best to try to help, because I just don't take no for an answer. I won't give up, and until something happens, some one way or the other. It's about all I have for that.
All right, Mr. Brooks, thank you for your answer. And I'll turn to Mr. Mays. Bruce, the question is, what are some areas that we need growth in Oneida? Is it retail? Is it industry? And what, as mayor, would you do to try to bring those things about?
Well, as mayor, one of the common goals I think each one of us express is that you want to bring in as much commerce as possible. You want the jobs to be available. You want people to have almost a choice in where they work. To help with that, the county has to have the population. The city has to have the population. Some restaurants that have looked at coming in here, the population just isn't there. I think we got plenty of fast food restaurants right now, especially with Wendy's coming in. And what a lot of people ask for is a good, maybe sit-down restaurant. You got several entrepreneurs that have reached into that aspect and are growing, and hopefully they will continue to succeed in that aspect. As far as getting jobs in here, grocery stores, again, that comes with location, comes with your highways coming in, if your tractor trailers can get here easily. Right now they opened 92 up. It's a great passage across there that feeds into 27, that feeds down to here. One aspect that I'd like to see done in the next coming years is maybe we done 2 projects in the past couple of years, Oak Grove and the corner down there. We straightened them up. In my personal opinion, you don't need to bypass Oneida. I think 4-lane, tying in the 4-lane from the to the lower end would help that aspect, and that would send all your traffic through Oneida. That's where you want it to be, your stores. You want people to stop. And that ties in with all the things that we're planning on doing with the sports facilities and all that stuff. The more of a need that corporations, grocery stores see, the more they're liable to come in here. To get them to do that, I mean, they just got to see a need. We can approach them, send out letters, but one aspect that hurts that right now, of course, is Walmart. Nobody wants to compete with Walmart. I think if we can approach a lower grocery store, maybe like a small Kroger, a Dollar General grocery store, or an Aldi's, that's a possibility, because there's the funds that Walmart has taken in over the years has been tens of millions of dollars. They're not necessarily wanting that. They'd like to have that, but if they can just get a piece of that portion, they would be happy with. And I think that's an aspect that we can get there.
All right, thank you, Bruce. And final shot at this question, Ms. Lori Phillips-Jones. And so, Lori, again, the question revolves around growth in Oneida, retail, industry. What things do you think are needed? And as mayor, how would you bring that about?
I want to talk about a couple of things that the other candidates haven't focused on yet, because I think it's a general consensus that everybody would like an alternate grocery store to Walmart. But one thing we haven't talked about is tourism dollars. We have right now some great assets that we need to promote more, to work with the county to promote tourism. Those are dollars that come in and that they stay here and that we're able to use in our budgets. So I think that we've had a problem in the past promoting Oneida as a tourism destination. A lot of the work that I've done with the downtown committee on revitalizing downtown Oneida, with events like Music on Main and the facade grants that we've got going on, are to try to encourage tourism and to encourage people to come in. Through that community, that downtown community, and making contacts with the state on the grants that are available for downtown revitalization, there's a lot of money out there. There's also entities like Campbell County that is trying to revamp remember a long time ago we had the fall train program where the train would come up from Chattanooga, I think, and park there at the city park. Campbell County is working on a scenic railway in that nature. We do have a scenic railway in Stearns, so I feel like we need to look at options like that to bring those tourism dollars into the area. Another thing in growth that I think we need to remember and focus on is the arts. Under recreation, I didn't get to talk about arts, but arts are definitely recreation. And for people who maybe don't play sports, they like to be involved in other things like painting classes, poetry, putting on plays and things like that. I think growing the arts programs in Scott County will increase tourism, increase those opportunities for citizens to participate with others in their community. We also have some great opportunities right now. There's land available on the 4-lane. There's industrial spots available at Tibbles. And the mayor needs to be a great recruiter, and that comes from contacts outside of the county. And if I'm blessed to be your mayor, I don't think it's a job that you can sit behind a desk. I think you have to get out and actively meet people, go to Nashville, advocate for your community, advocate for those grant dollars, and advocate for those connections of people who are looking for available real estate to come in. With most industry, the first thing they're going to ask is, what do you have available so far as land? Because if they're going to start from the ground up, they need a place to be. So I think that is important for a mayor to be an active recruiter for industry in your community.
All right. Thank you, Lori. And that concludes that question. So we'll move on to the next question, which I believe would be Bruce. We'll get this one first. So Bruce, the next question I have for you is this. I want you to look into the next 4 years, the future of Oneida. What do you see as the biggest challenges the town of Oneida is going to face across these next 4 years? And as mayor, how will you lead Oneida through those challenges that you think we're going to see through those years?
I think some of the challenges you'll see, and we've been through this years ago, you could go through another pandemic, you can go through another recession. Growth becomes a problem. Being able to service the community becomes a problem. And I hate the COVID-19 pandemic by all means. It was tragic, but that was something other that we may have to face in the future. Fortunately, I was able to continue working through that, continue providing services. The services that the town provide, of course, you still got to provide police protection, fire protection. People still want their garbage picked up. Basic needs like that. In the 4 years, you don't know what's going to hold. We don't know from day to day. We don't know tomorrow. And this is the mayor's ability to look at a fund balance. We all talk about grants, funding. Each department's got a certain amount of money that you got to allow to. You got to have money that will pay your employees. You got to have money that will buy fuel. Keeping everything going, keeping a strong fund balance that in case a catastrophe or something like that happens, it's there. That way, for at least maybe a year, we could provide anything that comes of need to the town that needs to be taken care of. As far as the town in 4 years, you hope with the government, you don't know if there's going to be spending there. We don't know nothing. There's a war getting ready to break out in Israel. You got the Ukraine war. It affects us back here. It takes billions and billions and trillions of dollars away from here that will take money from small communities like this. There's 95 counties in the state of Tennessee that vie for that funding and depend on that funding, and we'll try to do the best that we can to keep the taxes low, try to keep the expenditures to a minimum that the community needs, and continue to try to work through grants and continue to strive forward.
All right, thank you, Bruce. And we'll continue on with candidate Lloyd Phillips Jones. And candidate Jones, the question is about the challenges Oneida may face in the next 4 years. It's kind of peering into the future and things that look like they might be coming down the road, and how as mayor would you guide Oneida through those challenges?
I think some real challenges that we are going to face is that always the threat that our economy is going to go into another recession. That will mean as a town we've got to do more with less. We have an aging stock of equipment right now. One of the things that I would like to do if I'm blessed to be your mayor is to do a full inventory of all our equipment and kind of have a plan over time for the ones that need replacing the most, the quickest. That will be a challenge because a lot of that equipment is very expensive. The other thing that we may need to look at is moving towards alternate sources like electric vehicles for some of our town or our police force. That's just something you have to sit down and weigh the numbers with your alderman by your side and make that decision. But I do think right now inflation's going up. People are noticing the crunch when you go to buy groceries, when you go to buy gas. I think that is a significant challenge that we're all going to face. The other thing that we need to be prepared for is, and I'm not saying that this would definitely happen, but as Nashville grew, the cost of living grew, and so a lot of people moved out of the city in order to be able to afford a decent home and a decent cost of living. I feel like we could be that community for Knoxville. It's a lot of our citizens already commute to Clinton and Knoxville, but if there is an exodus from a big city like Knoxville, we could experience a big influx of citizens. Are we ready housing-wise? Are we ready with services? Bruce and I helped out with the rescue squad this weekend. They're always in need of donations. We were taking up money at the four-way there. And the challenge of having updated equipment for rescue squads, law enforcement, police departments is extreme because none of that equipment is cheap. And so I think that's going to be a huge challenge, is how we provide the best for our citizens while maintaining fiscal responsibility and not causing taxes to go through the roof. So I think that's going to be our biggest challenge, is doing more with less. Another way that you can handle that is some of the local businesses have looked at this with attrition of people who are retiring. They have taken those job duties and disseminated them to other employees rather than hiring a new employee. So that might be a challenge that we face in the future, is keeping our numbers close to the same, but providing those same services that we've been able to provide.
All right. Thank you, Candidate Phillips Jones. And our final candidate for this question, Mr. Harold Brooks. And Mr. Brooks, again, the question is, in the next 4 years, what challenges do you think the town of Oneida may face? And as mayor, how would you lead the town of Oneida in facing those challenges in a successful way?
You know, the 4-lane is just about filled up. And if you think about it, the only way the town can grow is west. You can't grow east because, you know, the railroad, and you run out of real estate. And that's why I suggested that, I know people frown on it, some of them the business people in town, but it wouldn't hurt them if we had, you think about it, how else are we going to grow if we don't? We've got to go west, and you need, to me, you need a bypass, not getting away from Oneida, keep it in closer. There's several ways I have seen the drawings that the state has drawn up, and if we don't, you think about say a supermarket. They got to have a lot of room. And Wendy's is taking up. They get by there, but they'll take up probably 2 businesses there, that has been there before. And you start trying to build something else or finding a property, is what we got a problem with that. See, and you think about it. We can't grow any other way except north. West of Oneida. And if we don't start planning for things like that, and I don't know about, we're going to have a problem on our hands trying to grow. And I don't know about the utilities. I don't know if our water supply. I know they're doing expansion on the water or sewer down there now, the plant, but you've got to keep that up. You've got to have that water supply and the utilities, or you're not going to get, you're not going to get any business growth amount to anything. Sure, you can get something small, but we better start looking in the future down the road, going west with our growth, because if you don't, we're hurting. And don't wait till it's too late to do something like that. And I'd say we need to expand our water and sewer and things like that, to take care of growth when it comes up. So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And that will conclude that question. I have one more question of my own, and then we'll have the candidates' final statements. And so I believe, Lori Phillips Jones, I believe it's your turn to open up with this question. And it's a little bit miscellaneous, but I'm throwing 2 or 3 things in here, but they've all been touched upon tonight. Talking about trying to increase services and things you want to do for the town of Oneida. What are your thoughts on tax rate currently and any tax rate changes on the growth of the city that we've had addressed here tonight? And then also just a little bit about there are 2 school systems within Oneida City with the county schools. Birchfield School is there, and the Oneida City Schools, the relationship with the schools. So it's kind of a tax rate.
Okay, I got to do both. Okay.
tax rate
and
schools, and city growth in 3 minutes. This is going to be quite the lightning round for you all. So, Candidate Jones, you're first.
All right, so let's start with the schools. I feel like fostering the relationship with our local schools is so important. And I would love to see, one of the things that I didn't get a chance to talk about earlier is a mentorship program that we work with the schools and have some kids job shadow folks that work with our police department, our water department, our administrative staff, in order to give them a sense of what we do. Our volunteer fire department would love to have young people involved more in what they do. So I think fostering those relationships with the schools is very important, and supporting them in what they do. You know, Oneida is the largest tax base for because of Walmart in our county. And so each month, Oneida does send money, tax money, to the county to support the schools. So we are very financially involved in the support of our schools. But I think that doing things that we used to do, like Meet the Indians, that was a great event where the town cooked burgers and hot dogs for the young people involved in the sporting events, and you got to meet them and see them. We all love to go to a good football game and watch the kids play and compete just in good, clean fun. All right, so now let's talk about taxes. This year has been an extremely challenging year as an alderman looking at the tax base, because we were looking at the tax rate in May before any of the before those assessments had come out. So we were basing a lot of it on assumptions. I don't think anybody anticipated the assessments to go up as high as they did on properties around here. So many people were surprised. We were waiting on the county to take a stance. So as an alderman, when we looked at that tax rate, we actually decreased the town's tax rate in anticipation of some redoing of the assessments. We had no idea what it was going to be. I have heard complaints about the tax rate, and honestly, if we would have had the information available to us at the time that we were looking at the tax rate, I think we would have decided very differently. And I'm a person, if I make a mistake, I'm going to own up to it. And I'm afraid that I didn't have all the facts available when we were voting on the tax rate. As an attorney, you always look at the law and the facts and you go by what you have. And I don't think we had adequate information in time to set a tax rate. So, as a mayor, I pledge to have all the information available before we set a tax rate and before I ask aldermen to look at it and determine what the tax rate will be. We stayed stagnant for many, many years and didn't raise taxes. My personal philosophy is to gradually raise them over time if it allows. So.
All right, thank
I'll
you,
come back to
Candidate Jones. So this question, once again, now for Candidate Brooks. The question is about three things mainly, and it's about changes in the tax rate for the town of Oneida. It's about the relationship with the town of Oneida to both the Birchfield School and the Oneida City Schools, and the city growth that you mentioned in your other answer. So those three things, if you would address those during this: the tax rate, the city growth, and the schools.
Well, every time you mention about taxes, everybody, frowns on it. And I don't know how, if we expand the city limits, how much that would bring in. I don't know. That's one way to probably bring in more revenue and tax growth, And any way that we can work with the city, the school systems. I'm not familiar with how they operate, but I do know that we need to, and it's a problem with the schools. You see the vehicles backed up around the school, and it's a problem trying to get in and out some of those. And maybe we could build some roads coming into those schools that would relieve that, having so much traffic backed up. Right now, it's backed up pretty good, but 4 or 5 years from now, See, we're getting people, and I'm sure they've run into it too. We're getting people moving into Oneida that's people you don't, I mean, you'd be surprised around Scott County and especially in Oneida too, that they are, moving from other places here to here. So, it's, I don't know how we can increase our tax rate without, doing something else that, I don't know. It's just a problem, and if I'm elected as mayor, I'll find a way to, help us in our taxes and help the school systems. We've got some good schools there, and they're good locations, but still, they'll have to expand, I'm sure, down the road, and we're going to run out of property for doing a whole, doing very much expansions, and I have to get into that situation if I'm a mayor involved in it before I can really, find out what is feasible and what we can do and can't do,
All right. Thank you, Candidate Brooks. And final candidate to answer this question, Mr. Bruce Mays. And Bruce, again, the question revolves around basically three things. Comment on the tax rate, and if you would see any tax rate changes on the relationship with Birchfield and Oneida City Schools, and also on city expansion, city growth.
To tackle the tax rate to begin with, I think the tax rate may be $1.50 $100, around $1.30, $1.50 $100. Like they said, a lot of people didn't expect the reappraisals to go up as much as they've done. Our reappraisals right now compared to cities that Scott County just does not equal with. We try to keep the tax rates down as much as possible. There is situations, cutbacks you can do in each department that will allow you to save that as much as possible without hurting the employees, without hurting the services that you get. You always want to grow, you always want to expand, and sometimes the tax rate may go up as little as what the inflation will allow, maybe 2 or 3 cents a year. You just don't want to get in a bind. Don't raise the tax rates for 5-10 years and then have to raise them drastically. Nobody wants to see that. Sometimes just a little bit at a time, and if you just talk to the people and explain to them, and if it's going to a good source, they're fine with it. Whether it's going to fire protection, police protection, buying equipment for the town. A lot of people understand that, but if they don't see that, then that's where they get mad. And we always want to be in communication, show them that. The schools, a lot of people don't realize Birchfield and Oneida are in the Oneida city limits, but they're not actually Oneida property. We've helped and been privileged to help Oneida and Birchfield schools many years. I told somebody at the Birchfield JV game we had the other day, people don't realize this, and this is in the newspaper years ago, we actually built Birchfield football field. The town did. They couldn't get help. They asked us, and we was available. We did it from the dirt work to the goalpost to painting to everything. That is something other, and Oneida Schools, which I'm currently employed there, had several questions on that, and one thing that is a big question right now, school safety. School resource officers. We got 3 from the city right now that we will continue to work with. I'll work with the schools on any basis. Kids, help kids any way I can. And Birdie's Playground, we was in a meeting with that the other day, that the town can be a part of because it is going to be on Main Street. It is actually going to be open to people besides the school kids. So that's something other that we can help in moving forward. Growth, just like to continue to see Oneida grow and stabilize as much as possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mays. And that concludes our question, or my questions. for the candidates. So we're going to move into the final round, and we'll begin with Mr. Harold Brooks. And again, in this final round, it's completely your agenda. And I would like you to just address anything that maybe I didn't ask and you wish I would have asked you that you wanted to talk about. You'll have time to do that, and then just make your closing case to the people on why you should be the next mayor of the city of Oneida. Mr. Brooks, you're first.
If I'm elected as the city mayor of the town of Oneida, I feel like that with my experience over the years, working hundreds of people, doing everything that the city does, I feel like I'm qualified to go in and take care of anything that comes up. You know, if you have good people to do your job, sometimes they might cut it short, but if I walk up on say they've got a water line or something broken, I can look at it, just glance at it and tell you if it's been put in right or if it's not. And things like that, we've got everywhere we can. After we pave the streets, it's not been paved. Some of them hadn't been paved. And I know Birchfield Avenue, I don't know if it's 20 years or longer. It's a lot of potholes and things in it. And if you don't get the water away from the road, you got to have good drainage. If you don't, and I know water stands in a road, eventually, I don't care if it's new pavement, you're going to have a pothole there. And the key to keeping good roads is getting proper ditching and getting the water away from the roads. That's one big thing people ask me about, you know, when are they going to pave this street, you know? But there's so many things that, you know, that I can do as far as, you know, I don't want to cut corners in anything that we need to do, but there comes a time, like I said earlier, you're throwing good money after bad when you overhaul an engine 2 or 3 times, and the state has vehicles down there. I'm sure they still have. You can go buy this stuff real cheap and then auction your other stuff off, replace it. You don't need to buy a new truck or piece of equipment because the state's got good stuff. They take good care of it. And that's something that if you don't know, when you look at something on that outside, you can waste a lot of money. You'll be sending more money out the back door of that office than you'll be taking in the front if you don't know what's happening on the outside of the office. And I feel like with the experience I've had over the years, I can run that the outside part, and I can do the inside. I'm not a secretary or nothing, but you know, I know how to balance a checkbook, and I know when things are paying for itself and when it's not. And I think there's a good chance that you may have to do something, you know, like the sports center and the complex and the golf course. We want to get that in a position where it may not make money, but it's not losing. We're not putting money in that every year. There has to be something done, you know, to get it up to par to where you can bring more people in, whatever they want to do, sports. It doesn't matter, you know, what we can. I don't know what all you can do until I get in that office. I do know that that guardrail that I'm talking about, if I'm elected as a mayor, I'm not going to wait. The only thing that happened saved a vehicle going into that one of those families there in their kid's bedroom is a big tree. That's all saved. Now, when you have that many wrecks, 4 or 5 wrecks in 6 months on one area, something needs to be done, and it will be done if I'm elected as mayor, along with all these other things that people are complaining about, you know, the streets and things, and fast driving all over every street in town. Just about it is they go way too fast, and we will hire the personnel to take care of these things one way or the other.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Appreciate you. Now, Mr. Bruce Mays, your final 5 minutes. Any subject you want to tackle, anything you want to talk about, your final case to make to the people of Oneida that you should be their next mayor.
Over there, past hour and a half, you've heard different questions asked amongst the different candidates. I hope during this amount of time that the answers I have given you helps you in some of the decisions, by all means. Well, I've been out electioneering. There ain't many promises I made. One promise I will give you is there's nobody that work harder than me. I've been an employee with the town for 23 years. I've saw every aspect that the town has to offer. Whichever department comes with, I've been there, worked around the people. People have talked to me for the past 23 years. One thing that you will get with me, very approachable. I'll talk to anybody. Any question you have, any concern you have, I will be there to answer it. Sometimes it may not be the answer you want, but I promise you I will give you an answer one way or the other, or get the job done that needs to be done. A lot of during this time of year, and I've been through it, a lot of your employees are worried about their jobs. Right now, the majority of the employees are safe. One thing that I would like to do for the employees, sometimes it isn't pay, but one of the things that's been discussed in years previous is better insurance, better retirement, state insurance, state retirement. That's a possibility. That gives the employees something other that is secured to look forward to. Tennessee State retirement's one of the top 5 in the nation. That gives them a goal to shoot forward, to look forward to. As far as the town tax rate, we'll keep it as low as possible. We'll give you the services that you need. We'll continue, of course, trash pickup. We'll continue looking at improving roads. And like I said, roads don't start with just blacktop alone. You got to prepare those roads. You got to prepare the water lines. You got to take care of the roads afterwards. And another thing that we didn't just touch on much, the water department. The water department over the years, 2019, I believe, there was a meeting to sell the water department. And I was one of the few, along with Mr. Jeffers, that spoke up against selling the water department, did my research. One thing that, in my opinion, you do not do is sell one of your natural resources. The water department has grown. They've got a revenue now. They continue to grow. They got a $9 million grant. I believe that they're in the process of building a holding tank to help the water supply. I think it's going to save 80% of what they lose during the year. I will continue to fight and work for grants. There's many out there, and one of the grants that you always want to fight for is non-matching grants. That's grants that the city does not have to pay back. We will continue to fight for the community, for the schools. I'll continue to be the best employee I can, the best mayor I can. And through your help, we can get there. So one thing I asked you is, please, this November the 4th, vote Bruce Mays for mayor, if that is in your heart. But one thing I do ask you, and a lot of people will reiterate this, please go vote. Make your voice heard. I hope you find confidence in one of us, confidence in me especially. to lead this town going forward. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. And our final candidate to close tonight is Lloyd Phillips Jones, and this is your time to discuss anything you would like and make your final case to be Oneida's next mayor.
Super. I had written down several things that I wanted to go back and touch on that I didn't get an answer in the questions because I tend to be long-winded and sometimes three minutes is not enough time to get it in. One thing that I would love to do if I was blessed to be your mayor is make City Hall more inviting, more of a place that citizens feel like they can come and talk to a mayor who is accessible, honest, and dependable. I feel like City Hall, well, let me start with our website. Our city website needs an overhaul. We need a technology update, both with the website and both with the central office, in order to both protect the information that we have, because we all know cybersecurity is a threat to everyone, but to better understand when it comes to budgeting, taxes, and things like that. I feel like an updated website would allow potential employers to access available land, available buildings, would allow them to link up with real estate that's available for sale. And I just feel like it would greatly enhance our ability to draw good industry in. A challenge that we're always going to have is adequate funding for fire and police services, and I promise as your mayor to be a fiscal servant, in that we need to delve into our budget and really look at, are we using those tax dollars in the best possible way? The mayor is the CEO of the town, and in that capacity, the mayor has many duties. Not only are you supervising staff, you're also supervising law enforcement, you're the chief operational person, you're the financial person, but we also need a mayor that's a visionary and can think 10 years down the road. What things can we do today that's going to help us in 10 years and help our kids and our grandkids? As your mayor, I would be dependable, accessible, because every citizen is important to me. I'm an organized person. I work about 4 jobs right now, so you have to be when you do that kind of thing. And also honest. One of my jobs is that I teach dual enrollment classes for Roan State, and the class that I teach is government and politics. And so, just like Bruce says, no matter who you vote for, I encourage you to get out and vote, because that's one of the greatest benefits we have as U.S. citizens. Some people are dying for the right to vote right now. So I encourage people to have a voice in what's done in your town, and make well-informed decisions, which I'm so glad that you were doing this tonight so that people can know the candidates more and where we stand on issues. I think that's very important to our voters. Couple things that I didn't get to talk about. There are grants for recreation directors, which I think is something that I would totally advocate for as a person who can help coordinate not only our sporting events on the fields, but also activities that the town is a part of, like Music on Main, or if we have any other festivals or events at the city park. I think a great way to raise money, raise tax dollars, is through tourism and promoting our community. We have a lot of untapped resources. I think so many people, both on the weekends and on school breaks, are venturing to Pigeon Forge, or maybe if it's the weekend, people are going to Knoxville to eat dinner. I would love to promote a culture where we have things here in Oneida to encourage people to stay local, to buy local, and to support our local business owners, because they really are the heartbeat. I also think as a mayor it's very important to be cognizant of a fair tax rate, and that's something, with the help of the Alderman, I would be totally committed to doing, to making sure that our tax rate falls in line with what's fair and reasonable to our citizens. I again appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I encourage people, you got some great candidates. Please get out and voice your opinion. Early voting begins October 16th, I believe, and so there's lots of opportunities for people to get out and vote. So please go vote.
Thank you, candidate Lloyd Phillips Jones. And I want to thank all the candidates for joining us tonight. I want to thank them for their trust in us, Ben Garrett and Greg Bond and myself, Tim Smith, and the Independent Herald to bring you this candidate forum, and thank them for running. We got to be thankful that we've got people willing to step out there and attempt to lead us, and especially to inform us on how they would do that. So I want to thank Mr. Harold Brooks, I want to thank Mr. Bruce Mays, and Ms. Lloyd Phillips Jones for joining us tonight, and we appreciate your participation in that. And if you'll stay with us in just a few moments, we'll have some of the candidates for Alderman for the city of Oneida coming up to visit with us, and they'll talk about their vision for the city of Oneida. But for these candidates and for our folks for the Mayoral Forum, we thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a few moments with more of the Independent Herald Forum. Welcome back to the Independent Herald's Candidate Forum. Earlier tonight, you heard from the mayoral candidates for the town of Oneida, and now we're going to hear from some of the alderman candidates. We do want to stress that all candidates were invited to be a part of the forum. Everyone did not choose to participate, but we're thankful for those that did, and we're going to ask a few questions just as we did in the mayoral forum, and also give them a chance to introduce themselves to you, and then give you any closing statements that they would like to give at the end of our forum here tonight. So we have 3 candidates with us, and our first candidate, I'm just going to ask him to introduce himself and tell a little bit about why he's running. It's Mr. Jeff Tibbles.
Like he said, I'm Jeff Tibbles, and I'm running for alderman for the town of Oneida. I've been alderman before I think for a total of 10 years. Some of those had to end, of course, because I was elected as a county mayor. But I'm 61 years old, since we discussed age earlier. 61 years old, graduate of Oneida High School, top 5 in the class, 5th or 6th anyway. And from 1980, graduated mechanical engineering from University of Memphis. Went to graduate school further at Ford Institute of Technology and Mechanical Engineering as well. Worked at Kennedy Space Center as a cryogenic systems engineer for the shuttle program. Came back to Scott County in 1990 and worked at Hartco, Tibbles Flooring Company, until we sold out. And then I went and bought the golf course and managed and operated the golf course for 11 years and 2 days and a couple hours. But after that, I quit when the schools had a major shortage of math teachers, and they asked me, because I had a minor in mathematics, if I would be interested in coming and teaching at the school. So I went to University of Tennessee while I was teaching, had to take 14 hours, part of the Teacher 2000 program, and then taught school for 9 years, working with Rick most of the time. He was the principal at the time. And then after that, I was elected in 2010 as county mayor from 10 to 14, and then the citizens felt otherwise to keep me around after that, so I was not reelected in 14, but was elected back again in 2018. And since 2022, I have lots of time to dedicate towards the town of Oneida, and I would love to serve the people of Oneida.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tibbles. And now our second candidate on the forum, if you would introduce yourself and let folks know about why you're running.
Well, I'm Rick Harper. I'm just a little bit older than Jeff here. And one thing, we have quality candidates running for mayor and for the alderman. The mayoral candidates earlier tonight put on a fantastic job, very informative. As we heard from previous candidates, is please get out and vote. That's background of being a government teacher that Lori had mentioned. One of the first things, myself being a former principal and other duties involved in leadership and decision making. Second, love finances and budgets and audits and grants. I'd like to be involved with those and look at financial reports and Mayfield Brown, which they all talked about the fiscal responsibility. I know Mayfield, one of the things he taught was just very simply, there's only so many financial jelly beans in the bowl, and you got to we're stewards of the money that's available. Communication, teamwork, maximizing resources. Also, too, the recreation was mentioned several times. Recreation decisions for all citizens, for the youth, the senior citizens, and also I was proud to hear the special needs, that we take care of our special needs citizens. Also, an echo that we heard is our employees of the town of Oneida, that they have a professional workplace and that we do everything we can to take care of them. And I think Oneida's a great place to live. As many of you know, I came here in 1981 sight unseen and then chose to make Oneida home. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate Harper. And then our final candidate, if you would introduce yourself and tell a little bit about why you're running.
I'm Dusty Llewellyn. I'm 40 years old. I was actually born at the Scott County Hospital, so lived here all my life. I've traveled a lot in my working days, I worked for the railroad. I traveled all over the eastern part of the United States, and I seen a lot of things in my travels that interested me in these small towns. The towns were just like Oneida. They're just small, towns that had a lot to offer, and I thought, why are we not doing this in Oneida? Why, recreation? We got some of the nicest parks. Bear Creek's really nice, why are we not offering more at those places? So it's just something that I felt led to do, to get into the alderman position there and see if I couldn't help make our town a better place for my kids. I've got 2 kids, daughters. I got one 19-year-old and a 14-year-old. My oldest one just recently got married, and I just hope that they can stay here and maybe hopefully have grandkids someday, and that my grandkids can be here. Just make the town a better place for my kids and my grandkids, for everybody's kids and grandkids. We got so much to offer here, but we need to capitalize on it. I think we need to try to get some businesses in here, factories, just whatever. I know the economy's tough on everybody right now, but I think there's a lot of things that we need to do to promote Oneida, the city park, the Bear Creek, the golf course. They have a lot to offer. We're not far from the Big South Fork. We got a lot to offer, and we need to take advantage of our resources and promote those resources to businesses to get more jobs in here.
Thank you, Candidate Llewellyn. And that concludes the opening statements. So we'll move on to the questions now. And the candidates did blind draw for order. So we'll begin with the first question with Rick Harper. And Mr. Harper, I would ask you regarding the town of Oneida, as you run as an alderman, what areas do you see as things that are really good and need to stay the same? And what are some areas that you see that may need to be changed during the next 4 years for Oneida?
Well, first of all is a lot of positives. As I've seen and grew, with my family growing here and being a part of things, you just go down the road, and a lot of things were mentioned, just off the top, the SROs at school, they're a plus. The street department, as far as the work, and when you mention one group, you often leave out another. But overall, I'm just the positive workforce that the town of Oneida has and employees. My brother comes up here to visit me and just brags on what all we have. And we've mentioned the city park, and we've mentioned the golf course. My boys play golf and they love that. The Bear Creek, complex, we know we got to get the participation numbers up. And in my background working with Youth League, I like the idea of a national organization for them to be associated with. And the candidates talked about the geographical location we have. That can be a great plus to us. And I think from businesses, one of the things I mentioned, a little commentary I've been doing, is at Bear Creek is some food vendor wagons that they can come in here. It helps the town of Oneida, helps the Bear Creek complex, and it also helps those businesses and help raise money as they go through. And one thing that I've mentioned is I'm not for charging at the gate for any youth baseball, softball, or soccer, and I've mentioned in the commentaries I've done on ways to raise money to offset that.
All right. Next, Mr. Llewellyn, the question is the same for you. What are some things that you see that when you look at the town of Oneida becoming an alderman that are going well and you want to keep those going well? And then what are some things that you see that may need to be changed or be altered?
Okay, I would kind of back up what Rick said. We do have some great employees. I'm friends with a lot of employees in the town of Oneida, the city street department guys, the water department guys. I'm friends with a lot of those folks, and I think we got some great employees, and we need to take care of those employees. We need to help them in any way we can, give them the resources they need. The police officers, the fire department, we need to take care of those guys. If they need better equipment, let's find a way of getting it for them. some of the things that I do think we need to improve on is like the Bear Creek. Somebody mentioned earlier, you know, at one time we had 400 kids playing ball up there, and now the last numbers I heard, there was 40 people signed up this fall to play baseball up there. They're going other places, and we got to figure out why they're going other places. Why are they traveling out of town to play ball? We got one of the nicest facilities around. We want them back here, whether it be figure out a way of not charging. I know myself, Rick mentioned not charging. If I go somewhere to a ball game and maybe they cut me a break at the gate, I figure I got more money to spend at concession stands. You know, we just got to figure out a way of getting more people involved up there, and I don't know what all that consists of, whether it be the organization itself, whether we need to seek outside help with the leagues and whatnot. I don't know how we need to approach it for sure, but I think there's a lot of people in this community that could give us some input on that to prop that up and make it a better organization up there. So I think that's one of the things we need to work on, is get our kids and our families where they're not having to travel. My kids play basketball, and we've traveled all over, you know, Tennessee to play basketball, and I think with our baseball facility up there, we could have that up here. So that, you know, might need some more restaurants, places, things to do, but I think we need to work on improving that area up there.
All right, thank you, candidate Dusty Llewellyn. And now I'll ask our third candidate, same question, Mr. Tibbles. The changes that you think need to be made in the town of Oneida, and also the things that you see going well that you want to keep going well.
Well, I think the one thing that's definitely going well, I just don't mean to sound like a parrot, but definitely the city park is a major plus. Everyone I've ever brought into the city park here loves it and is amazed by it. You can look at the success of the VFW car show and American Legion car show. That has grown as one of their biggest events. And the people you talk to, they're just amazed that such a small town has a beautiful park. But there are a lot of things there at the park that could be improved upon. We bought, I think it was 34 acres for the purpose of putting in a disc golf course in the woods. And it's not a temporary structure, it is a permanent structure. And I play a lot over at Admiral Farragut Park. And if you're not there by 8:30 in the morning, you're waiting in line. It's booked up. I mean, just covered up with people, citizens wanting to play. And it's a free aspect for people in this county or anybody that wants to come play. There's a lot of tournaments that go around this part of the country playing disc golf tournaments. There's actually a USDGA. It's a big deal. I think that's something that could be accented on at the park. Another thing at the park is the stage. It may need to be increased in size, but we have a beautiful facility why not have more concerts, open air concerts to bring in more tourism and more tourism dollars and visitors to the area. I think that's a major plus that we could accent on and really improve upon. The big part of Bear Creek, I mean, I don't want to get into any kind of personal things, but a lot of that, whatever mayor is elected, is going to have ideas on how that's going to be done. Of course, whoever is alderman will have input on that, on what's going to be done at that park, but a lot of it has to do with what direction the mayor may want to be taken. I've heard one mayor candidate say looking at a recreational director that will handle not just the Bear Creek, but all recreation in the area, which I think is an awesome idea. That person would be responsible for collecting the information and coming back to the city council and saying, this is what I recommend. And then we discuss it, look at the financial end of it, what it's going to cost, what the possible pluses and minuses are that'll be resultant of those decisions. What I like to do also in the city is not very transparent as far as financials, what we have in the bank, what we spent. How are we doing on our budget? I mean, we set a budget. I always look at a budget as a roadmap for the next year. And I want to know every month on how we're doing on that roadmap. Are we going on the right track? Are we overspending? Are we underspending? And that's just hard information to get in the present situation. So when whoever is elected mayor, I want to be major league involved in who they hire to replace Betty Matthews, because Betty is leaving as soon as, or shortly thereafter, after the Mayor Jack Lay leaves. So that's a very, very important position that needs to be handled well, and I want to be involved in that. I'm running out of time, so.
All right, thank you, candidate Jeff Tibbles for your answer on that question. And should you want to add anything else, you'll have the time at the end that you can throw that in, okay? Next question, this will go to Mr. Dusty Llewellyn. He will go first on this one. Mr. Llewellyn, I would just ask, in a similar question I asked to the mayoral candidates, how do you see the relationship with the mayor and your relationship with other aldermen? And many times we see in elected official situations, there's just so much problems in governing and getting things together. So what do you see as the key to working with your mayor and working with your fellow aldermen to get things done? And also, as I asked the mayoral candidates, are there any candidates, whether aldermen or mayors, that you see that you would endorse to say they would be good to work with?
I think we do need to work together. I think you see that so often in the politics, the mayor and the alderman, or the mayor and the commissioners in the county, it's like it's a battlefield, and it's not. We're all got the same goals. Our goals is to make our communities better, and we've got to work together. And no, we're not going to agree on everything, but I can't get mad because you're not on my side. So next time you need me, I'm not going to be on your side. We've got to work together and put all that behind for the betterment of the community, and I think that can be accomplished. I think we've got some great candidates running for both the mayor and the alderman, and I think they can both work together. But we've got to choose to work together, and we've got to realize it's bigger than my agenda or Rick's agenda or Jeff's agenda. It's the community. It's for the town of Oneida. It's not for Dusty. It's for the town of Oneida and the future of the town of Oneida. So that's where I stand on that.
All right, thank you, candidate Llewellyn. And I'll ask candidate Jeff Tibbles that question as well, trying to ask just in the same manner, in governing, working together with the mayor, with the alderman to get things done. How do you see your role in that, should you be elected, to make that work effectively to improve things for everyone in the town of Oneida?
Well, the experience in the past working with the city council, even working directly with county commission when I was mayor, I never really had a problem working with the commission. I would always discuss everything with them pre-hand, so I knew where they stood, took their concerns into consideration. And the same thing with city council. I'd be discussing it with, say it was us three plus one, we'd sit down and discuss. Of course, you can't make you got sunshine law worries and things like that, but you wouldn't discuss on how you're going to vote, just the concerns, and see if there's adjustments. One of the most embarrassing things America's got going on right now is Congress and the Senate. I mean, it's just like you're either my way or the highway. So there's got to be compromise on that, both sides of it, if we disagree. And sometimes, as Jack Lay would always tell you, Jeff and I don't always get along or agree on the subject, but we always find a compromise and make things work. And that would be the situation with this. Whoever's elected, whether it's Bruce, Herald, or Lori, I'm sure there's going to be points in time where we differ, especially when it comes to budget. I mean, if I was arguing right now with whoever was elected at this point, especially over the tax rate, my calculations came out where the tax rate should have been set at right around 99 cents, not $1.30. So when I got my tax notice, I about fell out of my chair. I mean, I got more than doubled from the county, and then I got doubled, almost 80% increase from the city. So it should have been analyzed a little more thoroughly. I mean, my appraisal went up 220%, but that's not typical. I think there was a lot of people that were minor league went up, but working on budgets, very critical, I think, to work with the mayor and his or her intentions on what they want, what they're asking for the aldermen to approve, especially when it comes budget time, and the benefits of what they do, and how to sit down with the mayor and just go through it from top to bottom, analyze the costs, the benefits, what they're requesting, because every meeting there's going to be requests coming from the mayor on, we need this, and I'm asking the board to approve this. Well, I want to know everything about it. I want to know what's involved, how much it's going to cost, what are the benefits, and if there's any change that we should make to that idea, and meet midway, whatever it needs to be done. Or it might be the greatest idea in the world, and I just say, go for it, let's do it. I'm all for it. So, but it's very critical, and that's one thing I have the history in the past is always working well with county commission and fellow city council members and the mayor. So.
All right, thank you, candidate Jeff Tibbles. And Candidate Rick Harper, same question. Getting elected is one thing, governing is another. How do you make that happen in working with the mayor and working with your fellow aldermen?
Well, when you first asked that question, a smile came to my face, and I think back to working with some individuals, Mayfield Brown, Jim May Sr., and Miss Cheryl Butler, and working with Mr. Brown and Coach May Sr. Sometime when you were with them individually, you'd have some pretty intense discussions that would go on, but once you left that room, you know, you were part of the team and you'd follow the direction. And then I thought about working with Miss Butler. I was Miss Butler's counselor, and she was principal, and I think about 3 discussions we had, pretty intense discussions. She was correct once, and I was correct once, and then we were both wrong once. So that part, you want, as a mayor wants the alderman to come up with ideas. You want to think. You want that active discussion going on. The mayor, the old phrase, heavy lies the head that wears the crown. The mayor, the buck stops with them. You want input with this. As far as playing that role, being a principal, leading, left to be coordinating school health, and also been very beneficial to me to have served on several boards. That way you have that input. So anyway, I look forward to working with any of these mayoral candidates elect.
All right. Thank you, Candidate Harper. And we'll move on to the next question, and this one will be for Mr. Jeff Tibbles first. And Mr. Tibbles, you talked a bit about it. Several have talked about it tonight. Can you expand a little bit on your vision for recreation in Oneida, including the city park, the golf course, the Bear Creek Sports Complex, and any other recreational ideas, tourism ideas that you may have?
Well, tourism is definitely a plus around here. When you have the Big South Fork National Park, or National River and Recreation Area, it's a mouthful, but it's a definite draw to this area. I understand. I think Ben could give us a number, but I think we're looking at 900,000 visitors a year if you take in the Kentucky side and the Scott County side of the park. So it's a major draw that needs to be accented on. And there's other areas, if you look at McCreary County and Fentress County, they seem to really be doing a lot to accent and to promote the park, because it's definitely a plus. And working with Nikki Nicholas, the superintendent of the park, her and I have worked together well over the last few years, so that's a contact that I would work with once again. If you talk about the golf course, when we sold the golf course originally, back when I sold it in 2001 or something, when the private investment group and the next group came in, and they sold it 5 years later when interest rates went up, and the town of Oneida bought it. And when the town of Oneida bought it in the next few years, it was a money pit. I mean, an absolute money pit. And I can see it because I live on the first hole. I see it now. It's definitely booming. I've never seen so many golfers over there in my life. It's a very big positive thing. And like was mentioned earlier, it's unlimited on the number of business deals that could possibly go down on the golf course. It's just always that way, not just here, but everywhere. So that needs to be continued to support. And it's my understanding, I haven't seen the numbers from the latest audit, but I understand they are breaking even. It's definitely a viable source. And if you look at other things, the park, it doesn't always have to be something that makes money on the book. I know it's nice, but if you look at our park, doesn't make money, but the golf course is breaking even, so it's paying for itself. But if you look at the park, the golf course should be considered almost that if it's a little falling short, it shouldn't be, considered for sale or to get rid of, because it's definitely an asset for the town. Other recreational assets, when you look, like I mentioned, the park itself, I think disc golf is a good possibility. It's amazing the number of kids that are out there playing it. Like I say, you're lucky to get on a course if you're not there early in the morning in Knoxville. And hopefully we could build a quality course here as well. Other recreation, I'm repeating myself a lot, but when it comes down to that stage area, that whole field down there is just not being utilized, I don't think. So we should be a draw for concerts of some kind. Of course, we'd have to consideration of time of day when you do it, because you've got neighbors that live there. They don't want, 110 decibels blasting at their front door. So, it's just typical things we'd have to be concerned with. But I just think Scott County's got a lot to promote, and recreation is one of the things we need to be pushing. So,
All right, thank you, Candidate Tibbles. And Rick Harper next. The question is the same. It's about recreation and specifically dealing with the park and the Bear Creek Sports Complex, the golf course, and any other recreational thoughts you have for the town of Oneida if you become alderman.
Okay, well, one thing I've learned tonight, and I really like the ideas, the city park, something with pickleball. We know pickleball's on the incline, and also too the disc golf. I think, I know that's been successful in other areas, so that's certainly good. And also too, at the city park, I went to the VFW, and also too the stand carnival. That was a great event. And so those are, any of those events that we go there, and I think they had like Winter League basketball at the park. And one thing I do want to is special needs. I know Amy Martin and others worked with what's at the city park, and I know the Birdie Playground, what was mentioned, that's going to be fantastic. I like that we take care of our special needs kids. The golf course, my boys play golf. In fact, one's playing golf tonight, so I think that's a plus. Going to the Bear Creek, when you taking care of your fields, it costs money for all those things that you do, liner and fertilizer. My recommendation would be for the mayor-elect to enter discussions with the Oneida Special School District Director and look at a complex use fee for those facilities for the Oneida teams that play there. Also too, the AYSO benefactors, talking with them that if they would be a complex use fee, an agreement signed, that they would then help on bringing AY. So that would help supplant like I said, I'm not for gate money. Taking up gate money takes too many people. You got to have 2 adults. You got to have 1 person to count. You got to have 1 person to transport. You got another person that has to count it the next day. You got 5 individuals. You could use those people to help run your concessions. And then also too, as far as making money, other vendor wagon. That way, if you sell an item, you got your slush wagon. It's promoting that money going towards your Bear Creek League. Your vendor wagon sales. Maybe 1 person, maybe 4. They then get to make some money. The town makes money, and then helps take care of the upkeep of the Bear Creek complex.
All right, thank you, Candidate Harper. And final to answer this, Candidate Dusty Llewellyn. The question is about recreation in the city of Oneida, specifically City Park, golf course, Bear Creek Sports Complex. Any other ideas you may have to promote recreation and even tourism in the city of Oneida?
These guys have done mentioned, the city park, the stage area. That I remember when I was a kid. I remember some bluegrass festivals, some gospel music in that area. I remember gospel music at the fairgrounds, stuff like that. I think we need to promote it, but we're going to have to get the information out there. Rick mentioned a stand. Something was stand at the city park. Well, that's the first I've heard of it. I don't know when it happened, but those people and the town of Oneida has got to promote all this stuff that's going on. We got to really get it out there, get the information out there, and with the Bear Creek there again, we've got to promote it. We've got to push for it. We've got to figure out how to get more people there, and weekend tournaments like Bruce Mays mentioned earlier. I've traveled a lot of those, and we just got to really push that stuff. The disc golf, when I worked in Nicholasville, Kentucky, I'd see people up there playing disc golf, and yes, Jeff's right. It's waiting. I mean, people just lined up to do it. So if we've got the opportunity to add some of this stuff, let's do it. Let's figure out how we can make it happen, and let's do it. We got to work together and get more going on, get our kids involved, get our elderly people involved, special needs people involved. Let's get everybody in the community involved, so that people's not sitting at home. They're getting out and doing things. So I think we got a lot to offer, but we got to utilize that stuff.
Thank you, Candidate Llewellyn. And that concludes that question for the group. And I'll continue on, and this time, first to answer this question will be Mr. Rick Harper. And the question revolves around healthcare and emergency services in the town of Oneida. Are they adequate? Are there improvements that need to be made? What are your ideas surrounding healthcare and emergency services, specifically fire and ambulance and police?
Okay, well, I'll try to go quick through the police department. The police department's always been, in my role as a principal, supportive of the schools. You know, they're there at the events. And then when the SROs became more commonplace, and I see them now, they've had situations at school that, you know, they've been fantastic. And for that to come together, I was glad to see it. That was, you had the school systems working with the town of Oneida and also working with Scott County government. And we've all talked about it. We want communication and teamwork and maximizing resources. That to me is a success story. Okay, you got that. The other part's fire department. Man, if we had something go on at 1 o'clock in the morning, I mean, they were there. So that group. So the EMT, we had a situation where they had the homecoming parade, and it's took place, and you know, they were right there. So those things just very pleased. And you go into the healthcare, what mountain peoples, you love to see them expanding. You love to see, I like the word I haven't used here, is kind of home grow. You know, you like the home grow where doctors are returning back and nurse practitioners are coming back here. And then the health facilities, and like I said, urgent care, anything we can come back and you have people that are working locally and taking care all the way. You know, we have so much travel that we take, that we go somewhere else for medical services, and I'd love to see some type of hub be here that would do. And I know that we're making steps with dental and the early child care. So I hopefully we can do make some decisions to help advance this.
Thank you, Candidate Harper. And Dusty Llewellyn is next. And Mr. Llewellyn, again, the question is about several things, including health care in the town of Oneida and emergency services, fire, police, ambulance, these things, the safety of the town of Oneida. How, as an alderman, do you see challenges there, and what would you do to help improve that?
The medical services, you know, like the hospital and the urgent cares and stuff, to my knowledge, that's all privately owned stuff right now, and I don't think the city is financially ready to take any of that on. But if we can promote things to get them, the hospitals, the doctors, nurse practitioners, the dentists, whatever, get them, you know, more support and get them people coming in here, like they mentioned earlier, you know, instead of having to go to Knoxville to see a heart doctor, if we can get some of the people coming in here a couple days a week, or lung doctors or whatever, you know, how can the city help those people? How can we help the doctors and the hospital people? You know, what do we need to do to make things better for them? As far as our fire services and our police services, I think we got a group of good people on the fire department. I think we got a group of good law enforcement officers. We need to help them in whatever way that is, financially, by better pay, you know, better insurance, better retirement. But we need to provide them with the equipment that they need. You know, make sure they're safe. The fire trucks, I mean, they're not cheap. We need to make sure they got good equipment. We need to make sure it's taken care of, and you know, when it's time to replace it and whatnot, that they get what they need. So we need to work together with all those guys, and whatever it is, find out, hey, what do you all want? And I think the alderman and the mayor, they need to have meetings with those guys, more than just the monthly meeting, giving a report, you need to go out and ask them, and ask the individuals, ask each officer, hey, what can I do to help you? Ask the firefighters, what can we do to help you, and I think we have to work with those guys, and however we can make their jobs easier, because they are a huge benefit. I've had to use a fire department before. I had a building get burnt, and I was thankful for those guys. I've not had to use the police department that much, but my grandpa was sheriff back in the 70s, and they hold a special place to me, so I think we need to support them in whatever way that is.
All right. Thank you, candidate Dusty Llewellyn. And final candidate to answer this question, candidate Tibbles. Jeff Tibbles, the question revolves around health care in Oneida, also emergency services, fire, police, ambulance, and in the things that could be done to support, improve, and change things for the town of Oneida in those areas.
Well, if you look right off the bat, when you look at EMS, which is the ambulance service, we'll start with that. The county pays, the city pays towards the taxes of the county, which the county runs the ambulance service. A lot of people say, well, Oneida's not part of the county. Well, we pay 24.9% of the taxes, so heck yeah, we're part of the county. And it's something that we need to solidify even better. So if you look at what we've got here where the new EMS center is coming in, I had to fight for that because one other person was trying to move the ambulance center all the way down almost to the Huntsville intersection on 63, which would be disastrous for the people of Oneida, where 85% of the calls go out to is the town of Oneida. So your EMS center needs to be here. And those guys are doing great work. The county's working hard to get their pay up, along with the sheriff's department's salary and such as well. The one thing I do think we need is the dialysis center. Dialysis, that's one request I had constantly, and that's when my sister was closing up her cancer treatment center. That was one thing we were looking for there. I met with the two companies that do dialysis, and neither one of them were interested in coming here just because they had, the two centers. Both those companies have the centers right off the exit in La Follette or Carroll. But that's something to be extremely nice, especially with the number of people that we have in this county that do dialysis, as well as cancer treatments too. Cancer, we're tied for the #1 in the state for the highest cancer rates. So a cancer treatment center would be wonderful to have here so that people don't have to drive and then go get treatment and then feel nauseous and upset for the hour and a half drive back home. It'd be very much nice to have, so we can do whatever the city should do whatever we can to promote that and make life easier for whatever company decides to come in here, if we can talk them into it. The doctor situation here, I think, has improved, not as much as specialists, but I think since we've gotten rid of some of our pill clinics, we'll call them, since that has closed up, our situation has definitely improved here in Scott County and the city as far as the doctor situation. We do need to have more specialists though, but that would be work at the hospital. I think is Hal Leftwick is really working hard to do that, to bring in specialists and coordinate other specialty clinics and things like that. So I think that's being worked on, but should be continued support. Let's see. Fire department, somewhere along the line we talk about improving the quality of life for the citizens here. One way is to take less money out of their pocket. If they want to look at their home insurance rates, if you could improve the ISO ratings for the fire departments, which one quick way to do that is to have a full-time fire department. And immediately your ISOs will change through the improvement or for your insurance rates for the city and the county for that matter, which I know is, I'm running out of time again, so.
All right. Thank you, candidate Tibbles. Appreciate your respect for the time, and you can fill that in at the end when you come back to that. So with everyone's permission, we'll continue on with more questions, and so it'll be Mr. Llewellyn's turn to answer the first question here. So Dusty Llewellyn, I'm going to ask you, what do you think will be some of the biggest or the biggest challenges that the town of Oneida will face in these next 4 years? If you're elected alderman, what are some of the challenges you see coming down the road for Oneida that you're going to have to help be a part of the solution of?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much it's been discussed. At the last town of Oneida meeting, it was discussed about the water supply, and I think about every year we have to buy water off of Huntsville Utility District. And so it's been discussed at the meeting that going to look into some more water supply. And as alderman, that's something that we will have to deal with is location, funds available, how we're going to get this land to have this water supply on. There's just a lot of things there that's going to have to be addressed, and I think over the next few years that's going to be important. Like I said, we're already having to buy it from time to time, during the drier months. So as we get more people moving in here, and we're growing, people's coming in. A lot of houses is being sold. There's houses being built. So as we grow, we're going to use more water. So I think the water supply is going to be something that we're going to have to look into, and it's already being discussed, and I think that'll be something important for the Alderman.
All right. Thank you, candidate Llewellyn. And candidate Jeff Tibbles, your thoughts on challenges that the town of Oneida is going to face in the next 4 years that you'll have to take on, and solutions possibly?
Well, right off the bat, he nailed it on the head when he talked about water supply. That's something, if you look every time we have a drought, especially October is one of your driest months. I think luckily we've had a wet summer, which really helps the case when we need to have at least a steady 55 to 60 inches of rain every year, or we don't have enough water to supply the needs for the city in the northern part of the county, because they're all on Oneida water as well. We need to look at another location for a supply. So if you look, we've looked and looked. It's so much harder now with all the EPA and environmentalist regulations to go in and dam up an area and get approval through state to get a water supply. I mean, especially also when you have the national park or national river and recreation area, there's a lot of restrictions on touching any kind of water flow access that goes into the park. Any contributory that goes into the Big South Fork is looked at very stringently and scrutinized. So it's going to be a very difficult situation. It would almost be easier if we had a private individual to go out and do it, and then we go in and buy it from them. I mean, make a deal with them some way or another. Because if the city goes about doing it, it'll take millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it'll be a long drawn-out process. One thing we could do, we looked at raising the levels of the city supply out on, it's not Dexter's, not the other, Howard H. Baker Lake. But I think that's been abandoned because the price originally was going to be taken care of by the feds and the Army Corps of Engineers. Now we're saying it's going to cost the city, I think it was $8 million or something outrageous to raise that water 2 feet. But something needs to be done about getting that situation improved upon, so where we can, and make it a minimal cost and not something that's going to break the bank. If you look at the one time when it's dry as a bone and we're down to sucking mud out of that lake, we need to go in there and start digging that area out. And then, because you'll have spots that it's obviously dry and has been dry for months, so we need to have a major construction situation. Denzel Pennington pulled off they call it the greatest mud hole in the city when he dredged Oneida City Park. Everybody thought he was absolutely insane, but thank God he did it, or we had been in serious trouble in a lot of different cases. And that's water supply is the big one. What got lost track there? The growth, I know we've talked, and I was chairman of the North Rural Planning Organization for TDOT. We looked into many situations and scenarios for how to handle growth, and that especially with the bypass. The bypass has been discussed since I was a wee little lad, 4 or 5 years old. I mean, the churches were talking about where we're going to move to, because it's talked about coming through here. And in the meetings we had, it was an argument. No one could agree upon between the mayors on what route we needed to take. So that decided at that point, let's do what we can to improve the present corridor that we have. And obviously I'm past it again. So.
Thank you, candidate Tibbles. And now, candidate Rick Harper, the question again is the challenges for the next 4 years for the town of Oneida, what you foresee them to be, and how you would help to approach solutions for that.
Okay, well, first of all, these gentlemen mentioned it, and also to the mayoral candidates, the economics, the times that you're dealing with right now, high interest rates, you've got the inflation, and then products were priced so high during COVID, particularly when there was the competition, when you were like schools putting in heat and air units and paying high dollar. And I know the elementary school right now they're building, and they cannot get parts in. That the group's ready to do some work, and then it's just not there. And insurance. Here I'll be a little personal for a minute. Now moved into Medicare, and then your other insurance, just how the price of those are going up, and then also the part of drugs, Part D drugs. And the reason I'm referring to that, you want to take care of your employees, and we need to take care of the employees, and we just need to be knowledgeable of all the things we can do to help our employees make good decisions, particularly, if as they move, you hope people stay with you to age, they're moving to the Medicare or the Social Security, that we have people giving them good advice.
All right. The next question, and this would go to Mr. Tibbles. And so this question would be about the school systems that are within the city limits, which is both systems, but you've got Birchfield School and Oneida City Schools, and then the relationship that the town of Oneida and the aldermen have with those school systems, and how you would see that developing over the next 4 years.
Well, it's obvious when you look at, even though Oneida City schools are not really Oneida City, they're definitely part of the Oneida Special School District and not related to the tax dollars that come into the town of Oneida in any way, form, or fashion. The alderman and the mayor and the board definitely assist as much as they can with both school systems, but especially the Oneida school system, because that's the majority of the people that go there are people from Oneida City. But what you've seen lately is a major departure or exodus from our county school system, and people coming into the Oneida school system. So the Oneida school system is busting at the seams. They are busting at the seams. So they're looking at having to expand even more than what they've done in the past. So it's going to have to continue. Birchfield, I see the biggest problem there. I think that was built too small once again. So they're having surge problems. They're busting at the seams as well. The biggest thing I think the town of Oneida can do is to do whatever we can to help the traffic flow in that area during early morning hours when the kids are being dropped off and picked up. It's a nightmare when you try to, I do everything in the world to go around at 3 o'clock or whatever. It's about the time the kids are getting let out, because it is just a major league problem. As far as working with them, best we can. Continue to work with SROs like we do. Of course, that's all funded separately now. I don't have any problem with working with either one of the schools, but the county schools falls under the county jurisdiction, so there's only so much we could do there, and you don't want to go stepping on toes, and you got the school board members from one going bickering at the other one, so it's best to keep a little separate there. Do your best you can to make life easier for the people that coming in and out of there. And I think that's pretty much the duty for the Birchfield side of things, even though there's a lot of people go to Birchfield. But I think some point in the county, and this is a major curse word, and it probably will kill me in this election, but some point in time or another, when you have schools in the county that are running empty, half capacity, and others that are busting at the seams, somewhere along the lines, the school system needs to be looking at districting who goes to what school, which will not go over well. But that's not my problem. The people of the county ruled me out of working with the county anymore, so now I'm working with the city, and that won't be any discussion to discuss with them. So anyway.
All right. Thank you, candidate Tibbles. And Rick Harper will ask you about the Oneida City Schools, the Birchfield Schools. Both are within the city limits, and the town of Oneida works with them in different ways. How do you see that relationship?
Well, first of all, I've been able to attend some of the Birchfield football games. I'm impressed with Birchfield School. Impressed. They've had great crowds, great enthusiasm. The grounds are clean, so that part there, okay. And then going back to looking at things that you can do to save money, Birchfield, Scott County doesn't need to buy an item, then Oneida Schools buy an item, then Rome State buy an item, and then the town of Oneida buy an item. And I'll use, for example, something very simple. Oneida Schools has a top dresser that puts sand down on fields, and you see how it does. That top dresser needs to be available to any other entity, and just very simply, those ever who your mayor is, enter into an agreement with the director of schools, it's a use facility, memorandum of understanding. Very simple. You got one item that's used heavy for 2 weeks, and it can be used by all the other groups, and it saves them money. As I was saying also too about the Bear Creek complex, very simply, Oneida Schools needs to enter into a contract. My recommendation, my opinion, you have the mayor and the director of schools, they sit down, what is a use fee for the teams and fields that use that? AYSO has benefactors. They then take and do whatever, and then in turn the town of Oneida gives them how the money is spent. And that goes back to what Jeff said earlier, communication. And I like that, and transparency. So among the groups there, work together and maximize the resources.
Thank you, Candidate Harper. And Dusty Llewellyn, the same question. The Birchfield schools and the Oneida City schools in the town of Oneida, what's the relationship? How do you see that? And if you were alderman, how would you hope to work with them?
Well, currently I'm employed with Scott County School System. I work maintenance, so I'm in all the county schools, and Birchfield being one that I'm in pretty regular, and we deal with the Oneida Plazas with water, and so I'm in contact with the water department pretty regular, and we work good together, and I think that's something that the alderman and the mayor, they're over the water department essentially, so I think that's a good relationship already, but it's something that can be improved on. The city schools, my youngest daughter goes to Oneida. She's a freshman at Oneida, and I'm really impressed up there. I like it. We have some good people in place up there. Like Rick mentioned, the equipment for the football fields and stuff. That's something that we need to look at, and I know that's technically the school system's equipment, I guess. It's not the city's, but what can we do to help both of those out? The Birchfield school, even though it's a county school, but there's city people that go there. There's lots of them. City people work there. We need to work together with them, and I think the mayors and the alderman needs to go and say, hey, what can we do to help both schools? There has been instances in the past that I know of that I feel like the town of Oneida, even though the city school is its own entity or whatever, I think the town of Oneida should have helped out a little bit on some things in the past, and I don't know where the breakdown was, whether it was just with the mayor or with the alderman or the director of schools. I don't know where the problem was, but there was some stuff that I think they should have helped the kids out on, and I think that's something that we need to work together with them, because again, it's about our community. It's not about one individual person. It's about all of us. So I think we just need to establish good relationships with both schools and just make things better for everybody.
All right. Thank you, Candidate Dusty Llewellyn. I have one more of my questions, and then we'll have the closing segment for each candidate. So my question will again be the 3-minute rounds, and then you'll have 5 minutes at the end to address anything that you feel wasn't addressed and to give your closing statement. So my final question, and we start with Candidate Rick Harper. My final question is about areas of growth that are needed, whether it's retail, industry. There's a lot of folks trying to revitalize Main Street. As an alderman, how will you support that type of growth for the town of Oneida?
Okay, when we talk about growth, one of the terms I like to use, home growth. We have some very good things in place among the two school systems. One thing I'm very pleased with is TCAT. TCAT's been brought down into middle schools, and they're at high schools. And here's a guy that's an old college guy that barely can change the oil in the lawnmower. I see the need of the skills that we have and what are in the marketplace. So I'd like to have all of our kids that we can learn as much as we can about the trades and skills. And even kids that are the university pass kids, I always like to encourage them to going down to the TCAT to learn a building trade or electrical, whatever, just because of what takes place at home. And then the growth is like your mayoral candidates said, let's let people know what we have, what strengths. I think we have so much to offer. I think we have enough isolation, but I also think with our geography and the natural resources we have here to bring in and support the local businesses, the small one, the restaurants that are getting started, and we need to help them and support them. That means we don't take off to go eat somewhere else all the time. That we'll eat local, and then that way those people, if they're doing well, they buy you signs at your basketball games, your football games. So that local growth, and if you've got a good quality workforce in place, then maybe that'll help bring something in.
Thank you, Candidate Harper. And now Candidate Dusty Llewellyn. Question is the same. It's about growth for the town of Oneida regarding whether it's retail or industry, and including the revitalization of Main Street. How would you support that as an alderman and try to continue the growth?
I think, most importantly, I think the industry, we've discussed our tourism and what we have to offer. The industries are interested in that stuff too, because they're CEOs and stuff. They like to go and do things, and so we need to let these businesses know what we have to offer. The Main Street revitalization, I think that's wonderful. I can remember when I was a kid. I can remember the parade going up Main Street. I remember standing on Main Street and getting candy. I remember even in probably 97 or 98, the parade went up Main Street. I remember my dad rode a motorcycle up Main Street with several other people that, we had some motorcycle shops here that were small businesses, and they gathered together and promoted that stuff. We got to promote each other. Like Rick said, we've got a lot of places to eat. Let's not run to Knoxville every time we want something to eat. These places are good places. We got to give them enough business that they can be open 5 or 6 days a week. That seems to be a problem we run into now is they're not open as often as we'd like. I like to eat on Mondays and Saturdays, and that's a problem. And so I think we need to promote that sort of thing, promote the small businesses, visit them. Hey, what can we do to help y'all, be better businesses? So.
Thank you, Candidate Llewellyn. And then finally, Candidate Jeff Tibbles, the same question for you. It regards the growth for the town of Oneida, whether it be retail or industry, the Main Street work that's been done. Your thoughts on how to provide support to that as an alderman?
Well, I think if you look at Main Street, me and my girlfriend, we went and spent the weekend at the Clinton Antique Show on their historic downtown. The historical downtowns are booming across the places. They're bringing in the money and the grant dollars to make the improvements. Like they're doing minimal right now, but with the facade, it's starting out as a small grant. I think it was $50,000 on the front end, but it's not very much. But in the end, as time goes by, people will start being more attracted to that. And if you look at retail growth in the town of Oneida retail sales tax collections have increased almost $400,000 a year 2 years ago over the previous year. And that's one time when they were looking at raising the tax rate from $1.03 to $1.50. I couldn't understand, because the same amount of money would almost be generated by doing other things. But that money was exceptional increases in retail sales tax collection have been realized. And it seems to be taking care of itself. People talk about grocery stores. Sure, it'd be nice to have another grocery store like a Food City. And we worked with Food City because they're based out of, where Martha Washington Inn is in Virginia, that city there. That's where they're, pardon? Abington. They're based out of there, and there's been major discussions. Mayor Jeffers from the town of Huntsville, not the county mayor. And I've had many discussions with them to try to come in here. But, like was mentioned before by one of the mayor's candidates, Walmart does not look too highly upon that. And a lot of people don't want to try to compete with Walmart, because you look at when Food City was here, or Food Line or Food City was here before, when Walmart moved in, Walmart made sure they did their darndest to bring down the prices, so everybody would come there and the other place would go broke. And exactly happened. As soon as that place closed, Walmart raised the prices back up, and the same thing would happen if you build too close to the Walmart. So it'd have to be in a different area, or a different kind of retail in my mind. Mom and pop shops are, good. Wish them the best of luck. It's a very, very tough category to make money at. Let's see, I made some other note. When you look at industry, revitalization of the IDB from the county still meets regularly once a month. And the city, I agree with that, needs to bring that work harder with the county IDB, especially when you have properties like the old Hartco Tibbles flooring property being cleaned up. And we started that process through ECD grants and other people like utilities like Highland Telephone and Plateau Electric helping out, because they knew in the end that if we get industry in there, it's going to help their bottom line out. And then if you look now, Highland's got a whole new facility going in there. And Plateau Electric has major revenues coming in from the Bitcoin mining operation going on. So it's worked out for them on their investment. When you look at how to handle that, the website, Ben worked when I was there in 2010. One of my first pushes was for a website, and we used it as a portal for every city, every entity in the county, and we kept it up to date with all industrial properties and such. And that was one thing. But then there was a commissioner who came in from the 5th District in 2014 who killed it, because the county was paying for City of Oneida's website, and that's when the end of that happened. People want to know the truth. But.
All right. Thank you, candidate Tibbles. And want to thank all the candidates for joining us. And now we're going to move into the final round. And candidate Dusty Llewellyn will begin. You'll have 5 minutes just to cover anything that I didn't ask that you feel like you want to talk about. And then just make your final push to ask the voters of Oneida to make you an alderman. So candidate Dusty Llewellyn.
Again, I just want to thank y'all for having this debate tonight. Thank Ben Garrett and Greg Bond and yourself, Tim Smith. I want to thank you for that. I think there's been a lot of information here given to the people, information that even some of it's new, or most of it's new to me, but I appreciate each candidate, the mayor candidates and the alderman candidates. I appreciate them coming out. I appreciate them keeping everything clean and civil. And but I ask for y'all's vote. I'm 40 years old. I plan to live here for a long time, and I would like to make Oneida a better place for myself, for my kids, for your kids, just everybody. And so I ask for your support. There's a lot of things that we need to do. We keep talking about Bear Creek. We keep talking about industry. We have the Hartco buildings that's sitting vacant. There's a few other buildings that's sitting vacant in the town of Oneida. We need to get those buildings up and running and get them looking good that people want to use those buildings. Seems like we've, and I don't know if it's the city or the landowners or who, but we've tore a lot of our historic stuff down, the Scott Theater and different things. We've tore a lot of things down. If we're going to revitalize Main Street, we need to quit letting things get tore down. I don't know how we go about that. I'm sure there's grants available for different things. Let's just promote, not tearing things down. Let's make everything better. And I ask you most importantly to pray about your decisions on who you vote for, Early voting starts October 16th, and the actual election day is November 4th. And pray about it, whether it be for me or anybody else. Pray for all of us that we'll do what needs to be done for our community. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, candidate Dusty Llewellyn, candidate for Alderman for the town of Oneida. Next up will be candidate Jeff Tibbles.
No, thank you. I want to thank Ben and Tim for both of you guys, and Greg as well for organizing this event. Like it's unusual, and it's for Scott County to have such a high-tech operation like this has been, and it's very professionally done. I want to tell you, I appreciate that. And I also want to appreciate the candidates. I mean, I've known Rick for a long, long time. I've just meeting Dusty, but I've known his father for a long time. He must be good stock. I mean, his dad's a good guy, so he must be. I know all the other candidates as well. There's very good candidates all around running. So it's up to the people to make a decision. Of course, I'd like for you to go into that booth and push my button, or if you're doing the absentee ballots, legally go in and do an absentee ballot for me and just make wise decisions. I think when it comes down to making decisions, experience matters. And I think I have a lot of experience from 2010 to now. I mean, 2000, period. So I've been doing politics for 23 years. And one of the things that we've discussed a little bit about is grants. Everybody thinks, yeah, get the grant, get the grant, get the grant. Well, sometimes grants just aren't worth it. I mean, especially those 50-50s with all the problems you've got to go through to do it. And one of the things I could offer as an alderman would be able to work with the mayor and sit down and go through these with the other aldermen and the rest of the board and go through to determine, is this something we really want? I mean, I didn't like doing anything worse than 80-20. I mean, but since we're a distressed county, you get extra points, so the grants are pretty easy to come through right now. And Oneida's part of the 3-star program as well, so our grants are coming in with extra points because we're considered distressed. And so it is the time, but it's time to make sure you don't get locked into a grant that's just ridiculously difficult to maintain, or you have to pay everything up front and then you get reimbursed, and you got to evaluate if you got the fund balances to handle all this stuff. So it's something that I've got experience with, and I think I could help in that process. And like I said, since the last election, I've got a lot of time on my hands, so I'm more than willing and look forward to helping if so elected. One of the other things is budgeting. I mean, I've got a lot of experience in budgeting, and it's just being a numbers guy. I mean, I've been a numbers guy all my life, from my dad's point of view, till he passed away. We'd always talk about numbers and such, and especially on finances and budgeting and things. So I have experience, and one of the promises I would make is we do my dangdest to make sure, I'll try to keep it clean, do my dangdest that we keep taxes as low as possible, but still maintaining a quality workforce with the working crew, the roads crew, the road department, the garbage crew, street crew, whatever it's called, and then the water departments, the police department, that everybody's paid a fair scale. I mean, and then the last numbers I had pulled, there were some pretty healthy for that time. Of course, that was before we hit with 12% inflation rates and such, but they were being paid pretty well, and 100% insurance for family, which is that family insurance, the total medical insurance for the city. With the last budget I was involved with was $890,000 a year for health insurance for the city. When you look at that percentage of budget at that time, it was well over 20% of the budget was going towards medical health insurance for the employees. And when people say, well, you know, we're only getting paid $17, $18 an hour, you throw in that cost of that health insurance, especially a family plan, at $1,400, $1,600 a month or more, and spread out over 4 weeks, that's an extra $400 a week they're getting paid in benefits. Is one way to look at it. And it's continuously going up, average probably 4 to 6% a year. So it's something we got to consider how to go about putting that into a budget and forecasting the future on how we're going to handle these expenses. And that's something, especially when you look at the future of paving roads. I think road paving needs to be put on a schedule. We need to evaluate every road we have, put it on a schedule, determine the costs and future costs with interest rates, and inflation and determine the proper route and how we need to budget that into our budget and get it paid for. But I'm running out of time once again, but I do appreciate it. Thanks everyone, and go push the button for Jeff Tibbles, please.
Thank you, candidate Jeff Tibbles. And our final candidate wrap up tonight will be candidate Rick Harper. And Mr. Harper, if you just will share with folks.
Okay, since I'm the last one, I get to look off my list, don't I?
Yeah, now you can say bad things about us.
No, I'm willing to learn. I want to, the things that's been talked about tonight to me are just exciting and interesting. You know, just that background, being involved in government and economics as a teacher. Work sessions, I like, you know, I like work sessions. I like, you know, Jeff talked about budgets and looking at what numbers tell you. I don't know, we touched on industrial boards, I think, a little bit, but just the communication and the teamwork among all the entities of the groups in Scott County that we work together. The grants, I know we've been to grants, and I know they can be frustrating, but just that we try to get out in communication. What Jeff said here earlier about the water, I like that. I like being informed, that you're informed on what's going on. The web page, I think all the candidates are talking about the web page. A web page that informs the public at different social media levels, you know. And I know senior citizens, some of them have asked if somebody to help them, you know, how to do a Facebook, how to do such and such, and then the school's willing to do that. And one group we did, the rehabilitation, I know Mayoral rehabilitation was mentioned, and I know we have other, is second chance opportunities for some of our citizens who are coming back and trying to enter the workforce. I know we have several businesses that are willing to give them a chance, and I think we need that. And so, just wrapping up tonight, we got some quality candidates. Please get out and vote. And selfishly, or maybe whatever, I'd like to see the largest turnout in town of Oneida history. You know, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Rick Harper, and I would like to extend a special thank you to all the candidates. Everyone was invited. We do understand it's fall break week, and there will be folks that couldn't make it on their schedule, but everyone did get an invitation to come tonight. I want to especially thank our mayoral candidates from earlier. Herald Brooks was here, also Bruce Mays and Lori Phillips Jones, and then for our alderman candidates, Mr. Jeff Tibbles, Mr. Rick Harper, Mr. Dusty Llewellyn. Thank you so much for your all's participation in this, and we're thankful to have folks that are willing to be public servants for you and to explain why they want to be that. So the least we could do is get out and vote. So let's do that a week from today. It will be early voting on Monday, October the 16th. Election Day is November the 4th. I want to also especially thank the Chamber of Commerce for providing this facility for us to have this candidate forum in. Much thanks to Ben Garrett and Greg Bond for their work in getting this together. And for all those involved, we just want to thank you for joining us from home. This is Tim Smith saying you've been watching the Independent Herald Candidate Forum.